Meet Chen Yi, 23 years young and currently starring in his own life as a total NPC. He calls himself a fresh grad with a fancy internship, but let's be real, he's just a glorified barista grinding for minimum wage. Trudging down the street after another unpaid overtime cleanup shift, he's muttering curses under his breath. The regret is hitting hard tonight. If he had actually cracked a book in school instead of slacking off, maybe he'd have the cash to blow on that new gaming collection instead of staring at skyscrapers and fantasizing about being rich. Suddenly, a working girl from the red light district slides up. Finally back, handsome, I've been waiting for you. Chen Yi hits the brakes. Wrong guy, lady. She thinks he's playing hard to get and offers him a special discount. Curiosity gets the better of him. Discount, huh? How much we talking? 300, she purrs. Cash or transfer? He scoffs and keeps walking. Definitely the wrong guy. If I had 300 bucks, I'd be leveling up my Steam library, not my love life. The girl is left standing there totally confused. He picks up the pace, gotta get home before the grub gets cold. Bam, he slams right into a delivery driver. Talk about instant service. The guy is holding Chen Yi's exact order. Here's your takeout, bro. Chen Yi grabs the fried chicken and heads upstairs, spiraling into an existential crisis. Some guys get abs, some get charm. But Chen Yi, he got a face so generic he's apparently the default avatar for that guy. 20 years of mistaken identity proves it. He wrestles with his janky door. Open up, you piece of junk, just as the hallway light flickers and dies. Pitch black. Then come the whispers. Delusional, maybe. But when the voices get louder, he freezes. Great. Haunted apartment. Just my luck. He remembers hearing these old buildings are spooky. Voice shaking, he stammers. Yo, spirits. Wrong guy again. Cut to a whole different dimension. A creepy old dude sits on a throne, demanding a sacrifice for the magnificent Lord of Ashes. A girl is dragged forward, screaming for mercy. The old cultist starts chanting, prepping to offer this demon girl to the dark gods. He casts a gnarly spell, commanding her to bleed and strike fear into their hearts. Suddenly, the old man starts shaking violently. Did it work? It's been centuries since a successful summon. He bursts into manic laughter. He is here, Lord of Ashes, arise. The cultists lose their minds, chanting Ares like they're at a heavy metal concert. The girl's eyes snap open. A living sacrifice, the elder screams. We puny mortals aren't worthy to watch this greatness. He orders everyone to bail. The girl starts praying to the Lord of Ashes as thick smoke floods the room. She's fading fast, dizzy, and weak, suddenly coughing fit. It's Chen Yi hacking his lungs out in the mysterious fog. I'm dying, too much smoke. He spots the silhouette in the haze. Is that the ghost? He squints, trying to see through the gloom. Wait, definitely solid, definitely tied up. Okay, pretty girls usually aren't ghosts, he mutters, reaching for the ropes. You can't be that bad. She's burning up, totally drenched in sweat. He taps her cheek. Hey, you good? Wake up. Do we need a hospital? You look absolutely wrecked. Boom. She drops to her knees in worship. Lord of Ashes, Chen Yi sighs. Look, I know I have a generic face, but you definitely got the wrong guy. It happens all the time. She isn't hearing it. Mighty Lord, your vessel is magnificent, exactly like the legends. A true believer would never mistake you. Chen Yi pauses. This feels a little more complicated than just another case of mistaken identity. What exactly are you seeing here? She rattles off accolades mighty. Magnificent. He who shall not be named. Chen Yi whispers. You sure about that? She looks terrified, and then just drops to the floor unconscious. Did she just faint from fear? Or is she scamming me? He digs into his bag. He pours a cup of coffee from his thermos. Time out. I need caffeine to process this madness. Thank God for anime and video games. Any normal person would have lost their mind by now. Suddenly she peeks open, one eye. Aha, I knew you were faking it. But then it clicks. She's not a scammer. She's a stan. She truly believes he's an evil god. He did just cross dimensions. So maybe the villain aesthetic is part of the package. Chill out, he says. What's your name? She trembles, shocked that the white-hazed villain destroyer of worlds is actually speaking to a scrub like her. Ina, she squeaks. Chen Yi rolls his eyes internally. Destroyer of worlds, bit dramatic for a guy who just wanted fried chicken. Anna, simple, punchy, impossible to forget. He slides the steaming mug across the table toward her. Chill out, kid, he says, voice smooth. No need to look so terrified. It's yours. Go on, take a sip. To her, that dark liquid isn't caffeine, it's molten lava. Is this how the eldritch gods claim their tribute? By melting them from the inside out. Her fingers are shaking like leaves in a storm as she clutches the cup. I surrender my life to you, my lord. He blinks, confused. Whoa, who said anything about dying? He leans in, eyes narrowing. Who are you really, and why did you drag me here? Don't lie to me. I am merely the vessel, she whispers, head bowed. The lamb for the slaughter. My entire existence belongs to you. I would never deceive a god. He freezes. Sacrifice, wait back up. That sounds like cult talk. She spills the tea. The city is crawling with fanatics who just torched a living soul to call up the big bad, the Lord of Ashes. Shen Yi connects the dots. Great. They dialed the wrong number and got me instead. Mystery solved. He glances around. So is the ritual over. He locks eyes with her. Here is my absolute command. Live. Be happy. And poof, he fades into thin air. But the moment he's gone, the cult goons swarm her. Grab the girl. She still owes us. Drag her out, they bark. She was born for the altar. She's unfinished business. She should be honored to bleed for the cause. Tears stream down Anna's face, but she smiles. I will live happily, she vows. I will spread his glory for eternity. Generations will know his name. But inside, she's reeling. Why did the Chaos Cult get this reward? They've worshipped the Ash Lord forever. Yet, in thousands of years, he's basically ghosted them. Zero show-ups. A weird thought creeps in. Does the Supreme Dark God just have a thing for teenage girls? She shakes the blasphemy out of her head. I'm just a speck of dust. Who am I to guess a god's vibe? She clutches the cup, now filled with divine blood, tight against her chest. She steps into the downpour. But the rain, it sizzles and vanishes against her fire shield. His protection, she gasps. Even the fury of the elements can't touch the Ash Lord's chosen one. It's nothing like the orphanage. Back there, she was a prisoner. No unauthorized exits. This is her first solo run in the urban jungle. This freedom, this is the real gift. She wanders through Baranda, the crown jewel of Nolan. To her dazzled eyes, it's paradise on earth. She pauses in front of a looming structure. It radiates a strange energy, something special. Focus, Anna. She snaps out of it. Gotta get back to the church before they freak out. Meanwhile, zap, Shen Yi crashes into a random cafe. Where the hell? Thud. Lights out. He snaps awake. Morning sun smell of roasted beans. He scans the room. Definitely a coffee joint. But something feels off. The air, the gravity. He's definitely not in Kansas anymore. Still stuck in creepy church world. Then he spots the wall decor. Photos. Is that me? Before he can spiral, a customer walks in. One iced latte, please. He stares at the portrait again. Why is his face on the wall? Is the owner a stalker, or does he just have one of those generic NPC faces? Whatever, he shrugs. I'm lost, broke, and confused. Might as well make himself useful until the boss shows up. Maybe he can finesse a job out of this. The bell chimes again. Iced Americano extra shot. It's late. He's elbow deep in greasy dishwater, spiraling into an existential crisis. How does a nobody-wage slave end up glitching into a whole different universe? It makes zero sense. He loops the thought over and over, brain still buffering. At least the shop is killing it lately. But where is the owner? If he bails now, he just pulled a 12-hour shift for $0. Nope. He spots a bed and a stocked fridge in the back. Squatter's rights, baby. I'll take room and board as my paycheck. Meanwhile, the plot thickens. The cult drags Anna to Dr. Neon's creeping lair. Knock knock. The door creaks. Neon peeks out, eyes gleaming. Here for the procedure. He looks down. Ah, the little specimen. Bring her in, he hisses. The basement is prepped. It's time for the grand metamorphosis. Metamorphosis. Sounds painful. He leads them down into the gloom. We're here. Now. Where is the fireblood? The cult leader hands over the container. Prepare to be amazed, Doc. We've never scored loot this high tier before. Dr. Neon's grin widens into a smirk. Girl. Raincoat off. On the table. Now. She obeys. Click. He straps her wrists down. Re-ip. He tears the fabric from her arm. Relax. Just a little sedative cocktail to start. The needle slides in. Once you're under, he whispers, the real fun begins. He cracks open the container of divine blood. He freezes. He can't believe the purity. This is perfection. A dark thought crosses his mind. Does the Lord of Ashes have a type? Silver hair, crimson eyes. Is that the key? He's racking his brain trying to figure out why the Lord has such a beef with blonde girls who have blue eyes. Then it hits him a twisted possibility. Maybe the Lord of Ashes just has a thing for younger girls. If that's the sick reality, he figures he'll just play along with whatever the High Priest demands. No one drops the news on Anna. She's going to be the Shrine Maiden. But he clarifies immediately, this isn't about sweeping floors or lighting incense. It's just a label their cult uses. Every sect has their own weird method for picking a chosen one. In the Chaos Cult, a Shrine Maiden is forged by downing the blood of fire. It's a mutation process designed to gift the chosen one with insane supernatural abilities. He mentions that technically this little science project could be done back at the church, but she's here because the cult's investors are in the building. They want a front row seat to see the blood of fire in action. He rambles on. Human flesh is weak, dull, and destined to rot. It disgusts him. That's why everyone in the cult is dying to become a Shrine Maiden. You're the lucky one, he sneers. She's going to evolve past the human race faster than any of them. She'll be the very first Shrine Maiden. That, he decides, is the only briefing she gets. Let's get this party started, he says, signaling for the blood injection. Agony rips through her instantly. Her body convulses for a moment, goes limp, and then she lights out completely. Dr. Noen stares at her motionless body. We failed, he sighs. Looks like she wasn't the chosen one after all. Guess silver hair and red eyes aren't the golden ticket they thought. But then she starts mumbling, whispering that she has to live for the Lord of Ashes. Meanwhile, back at the cafe, our guy is sitting on the bed deep in thought. If he sticks around, maybe he'll cross paths with that kid again. But honestly, he wants zero part of this cult drama. Still, the way she was tied up screams dark arts. Suddenly, the floor beneath him starts to shake. Earthquake, he wonders. Then those chanting voices creep into his head again. Is this a new summoning track? Chen Yi wonders if a girl is involved this time. He smooths his hair ready for the teleport, but then realizes the pull has stopped. Instead, a weird burning sensation flares up in his chest. What is happening? He questions if that pretentious lord of something is messing with him again. Is the guy looking for payback? Then he realizes the heat in his chest has traveled down to his palm. He feels like he's holding a flamethrower. Thinking the coast is clear, he decides to test it out. He casts the spell, and whoosh, fire bursts from his hand. Crap, don't torch the house, he mutters, wrestling the flames down. It actually works. He summons it again, keeping it under tight control this time. He gulps at the implications. Can he shapeshift this stuff? He starts molding the fire like clay. It actually turns out pretty sick. The fire looks cool, but weirdly, he feels zero heat from it. He spots a stack of books nearby. Burning one tiny corner won't hurt, right? He flicks a flame at a page to singe it. Nothing. It doesn't work at all. He tries to crank up the heat, but the paper stays pristine. He chucks the book across the room. What kind of budget magic is this, he complains. Can't even burn a paperback. Total waste of time. Meanwhile, Dr. Noen exits the lab frustrated. Not as easy as I thought, he grumbles. Let's grab a blonde guy next time. He waves off the girl as a problem for later. But then Anna stumbles out and tells the doctor, I made it. Noen does a double take. Did it actually work? She's breathing, which means the experiment was a success. Anna realizes she beat the odds. Her survival rate must have been near zero. It has to be the mighty Lord of Ashes keeping her alive. She was born to serve him. She barks an order to the high priest to prepare the next ritual. Chen Yi is brewing a fresh cup for himself. Time to show him what's good, he mutters. It's been a full month since he got isekai'd here. The real owner vanished, and he hasn't stepped foot outside this coffee shop. It's not legally his, but he's the acting boss now. He has to admit running the place feels pretty sweet. But after 30 days of analyzing his life, the truth hits him. He wants to go home. Badly. The ground starts rumbling again. He hears the chanting voices and then silence. Is that it, he wonders. He locks up the shop. Time to crash. Lying in bed, he thinks about how he's been hearing these summons all month. He figures there are probably 7 different types of summoning spells. He can't keep living like this. He remembers the last time he got pulled, it was just that young girl he saw. But if he runs into a whole squad of cultists next time and they realize he's a total fraud, he is absolutely doomed. He's heard rumors about a high-ranking college called Baden Empire Academy. A fancy college means a library full of secrets. That's his ticket. Suddenly, another summoning wave hits. Here we go again, he sighs, recognizing the signature. It's the spell from that girl's cult. Zap. He teleports. Rewind 10 minutes. The Chaos Cult was just about to kick off their next ritual. The high priest drops the green light, artifacts are prepped, and the ritual begins. Instantly, the chanting kicks off. But honestly, he's skeptical. No way the Lord of Ashes just pops up on command. The high priest figures this is all just theater. A flashy light show to fleece wealthy donors into funding the cult. Sure, he remembers Anna claiming the Lord actually manifested before, but that's just talk. In his book, when a god descends, you don't get a polite visit, you get apocalyptic natural disasters. And checking the recent news, 0 cataclysms. Anna insists the shipment that just landed today is definitely the relic the high priest was hyped about. According to her, these artifacts are dripping with magical energy, so dangerous that demon patrols ban mortals from even touching them. Most are sealed shut. She reminds the doc that only deep-pocketed investors could source a sacrifice this rare. The high priest declares they're feeding this relic to the mighty Lord of Ashes. They cast the spell again, summoning the Destroyer of Worlds to manifest his physical form. Suddenly, whoosh, the candles die. A creepy silence descends. Wait, why did the sound of the rain outside just vanish? He knows the Lord of Ashes has only graced this world twice in 1,000 years. The odds of a second. Summoning happening back-to-back impossible. But then Anna points up, eyes wide. The Lord of Ashes. He has arrived. The cultists freeze in pure awe. A literal god is in the room. Anna steps into the spotlight, voice shaking. We meet again, she whispers, addressing the Lord of Ashes. The high priest is terrified, begging the entity to stay calm, pleading for forgiveness for disturbing his slumber. Meanwhile, Shen Yi is just crouching behind a statue, thinking, bro, I'm not even mad. I'm just super awkward right now. He's trying to figure out why the summon worked this time. When previous attempts were total duds, panic sets in. Is his cover about to get blown already? Then, he locks eyes with Anna. He recognizes her instantly, the girl from before. He thinks, okay, she's actually rocking that creepy cultist aesthetic, and figures this coincidence must be divine intervention. I am amazing, he tells himself. The high priest is squinting, assuming the deity is delivering a sermon, but internally, he's sweating because he couldn't hear a word. The voice is way too quiet. Shen Yi thinks fast and booms out loud, accusing the high priest. You dare silence yourself before the Lord of Ashes, and warns that punishment is imminent. The high priest goes into full panic mode. This is the first time in hundreds of years. He's actually facing a god. He's terrified he's about to get smited on the spot and decides he needs to act fast and bribe the Lord with the goods. Desperate to shift the vibe, he pivots the conversation. The whole room drops to their knees as the high priest presents a legendary treasure, the ever-changing mask. Shen Yi hears the grand announcement and figures, okay, that guy's definitely the boss. He notes that this is a dude he shouldn't provoke or get within striking distance of. He knows he's absolute toast if they realize he's an imposter. But then he catches a glimpse of the high priest, sobbing with pure religious ecstasy. The guy is a total fanatic. Shen Yi wonders why the old man isn't saying anything, if he actually suspects the fraud. But the high priest is just trembling, convinced the Lord is furious and preparing a divine smackdown. I mean, he finally met his idol. Shen Yi composes himself, realizing, wait, these guys have no clue anything is wrong. He booms out that he accepts the offering, calling them pathetic mortal weaklings. Suddenly, the mask starts levitating, and he hesitates, looks dangerous. But he snatches it out of the air anyway, declaring once more that the deal is sealed. A nearby cultist notices the high priest shaking like a leaf and thinks, wow, what devotion. He truly is the most loyal believer. The high priest is weeping tears of joy just for surviving, but then pauses. Why hasn't the Lord vanished yet? He suspects the entity is contemplating something deep, figuring since the Lord only shows up once every few millennia, something massive must be on the horizon. The god must desire something significant enough to make him linger. The priest starts wondering, if the Lord plans to flip the world upside down, he decides to shoot his shot. Bowing low, he humbly requests divine orders, swearing they'll reshape the world exactly how he wants it. That's when Anna steps up and drops a bombshell on the Lord of Ashes. These guys, they aren't your faithful servants, they're frauds. They only summoned you to exploit your power for themselves, and they've defied your will. The high priest snaps, screaming at her to shut her mouth, demanding if she has a death wish. He reminds her she's just a clueless orphan who needs to stay in her lane. Shen Yi channels his inner god and thunders, you disavowed my will. Now you deserve everything that's coming to you. Internally, Shen Yi thinks, yeah, this whole God's will thing isn't really working out for Anna if she's still getting bullied. He summons a swirling ball of fire in his palm and declares, she remains alive. It is her destiny to shoulder a great burden. He stares down the high priest. Do not offend her. The priest stares at the massive inferno, desperately trying to convince himself it's just a trick of the light. Shen Yi's voice cuts through the denial. Did you hear me? As the flames die down, the high priest instantly drops to his knees, swearing he's the Lord's humble servant and ready to obey every command. Shen Yi doesn't waste time. He announces he's bouncing back to his home dimension and tells them to chill with the sacrifices, he's not interested. As the realization hits that he's leaving, Aina has an epiphany. The Lord of Ashes isn't some evil deity. The destruction only happens because the world is too fragile to handle his sheer power. He's not the villain. Suddenly the sky opens up. Rain pours down. The high priest whispers that the Lord is gone, and the cultists start acting like they're in a trance. Dr. Noah bursts onto the scene looking visibly relieved but confused, demanding to know what just went down. Seeing the cultists losing their minds, the high priest warns Noah they need to scatter, the anti-magic bureau is en route. The commotion was too loud. Noah argues there are only a few investors here, but the unhinged elites among them are going to be a massive headache. He grabs the high priest by the collar, screaming for answers. The priest, frustrated, barks at the doctor to kneel. Noah freezes, wondering if the old man has finally snapped. Then panic sets in. He actually grabbed the high priest, a guy with a disaster-level danger rating. The priest ignores the disrespect and says he has an announcement for the whole cult. He claims it's critical, summoning Aina to step forward and stand by his side. The high priest proclaims Aina is the chosen one favored by their god. From this second on, everyone better show her some respect. He declares he'll personally guide them into a new era, executing a holy mission for the Lord of Ashes. Their goal, burn down the old world to build a new one. Aina cuts him off cold, stating flatly that she doesn't need his guidance. Cut to 1 week later. A customer sits in Shen Yi's cafe, muttering about sensing the Lord of Ashes energy. It's hot, twisted, heavy, and totally suffocating. He spots Shen Yi and sizes him up, just some kid running a coffee joint. He wonders who this guy really is. Shen Yi flashes a customer service smile and asks for his order. The guy hesitantly asks for a black coffee. As Shen Yi turns away, the customer realizes the scent clings to the descendants of the Lord of Ashes too, and starts questioning if Shen Yi is a threat he needs to eliminate. Behind the counter, Shen Yi is grumbling to himself. Finally, a paying customer, business has been dead, and he's borderline homeless. It's ironic he's the literal Lord of Ashes, yet he can't even pay rent. He's about to be starving on the streets. He wonders how his fanatical cultists would react to that reality. He drops the coffee at the table, and the customer notices the aura has vanished. Was Shen Yi not the source? The guy downs the coffee in one gulp. Shen Yi blinks, asking if that didn't burn his throat. The customer is surprised it's actual coffee, not some magic potion. Then his eyes lock onto a jar filled with paper cranes. He asks about them. The customer explains his daughter folded them. He told her to make a crane every time she had a wish and toss it in the jar. Their deal was simple whenever he had time. He'd pick one out and make it come true. But he missed his chance. Now the jar is the only piece of her left. She passed away years ago. He mentions someone advised him to bury the jar to stop the constant heartache, but he dug it back up because the pain of missing her was better than forgetting. Shen Yi offers some soft advice. Sometimes you have to let go. He admits he knows the sting of losing a loved one and spending nights staring at the ceiling. But living in the past is a trap. It destroys you, and the people you lost wouldn't want that. The customer shuts him down. Some memories aren't meant to fade. He vows to mourn his daughter until his last breath. He mutters under his breath that it doesn't matter if Shen Yi is a wizard, a cultist, or a fed from the bureau. The only way to stop him is to put him in the ground. Shen Yi shrugs, saying everyone has their own perspective, and apologizes if he overstepped. The customer relaxes slightly, figuring Shen Yi isn't trying to block his path. He muses that maybe fate brought them together and introduces himself as Baron Harriet. Shen Yi introduces himself and tells him to visit again. As Baron steps out the door, he mutters about the surname Shen. Is it an ancient lineage or something foreign? Suddenly, Shen Yi rushes out to stop him. Hey, you didn't pay for the coffee. Baron pays up, and Shen Yi flashes a grin, reminding him to come back soon. Baron pauses. Did this guy really just chase him down for a few bucks? He brushes it off, relieved that the mysterious shop owner isn't an enemy. But Baron's mission isn't over. He needs to find the god from the other dimension, and he needs to kill a descendant of the Lord of Ashes to use as a sacrifice. He decides that tonight is the night. He's going to break the ultimate taboo and summon the indecipherable god. He'll burn the world down if it means bringing his daughter back. Meanwhile, Shen Yi is chilling reading a book. He starts from page 223, which describes exactly that ritual. Imagine a titanic serpent, the Lord of Ashes, whose wings aren't feathers, but roaring hellfire incinerating his own worshippers in an eternal loop. This genderless entity doesn't care about desire. He just drops food like loot for his cultists reigning as the avatar of midnight. His power level, represented by the absolute void zero. They call him the god beyond this dimension, an entity perpetually away from keyboard in a deep slumber. Unlike the other fame-hungry deities, he couldn't care less about the mortal realm. Shen Yi figures if he'd seen this lore before, he would have brushed it off as some edgy world-building from a B-tier comic or fantasy novel. But this book, it's stingy with the details on the Lord of Ashes, leaving Shen Yi totally confused, so he ditches it for the other tome. He starts spamming the rituals listed inside, but freezes mid-motion. Flashback time, he suddenly remembers an obscure ceremony, packed with a laundry list of names. Before he got isekai'd here, his life was basically a compilation of epic fails. Career trash. Life, a mess. Even in video games, his RNG was absolutely rigged. That's when the intrusive thoughts won. He decided to channel main character energy and pull off a ritual to fix his cursed luck. He rushed home to grab that ancient family heirloom book. He had zero clue what the text meant. But desperate times call for desperate measures. He started grinding through the instructions. The mechanics were surprisingly simple. Step 1. Line up bright yellow talismans along the table edges. Step 2. Sign your name on one of the slips. Step 3. Copy the names from the book onto the rest. Spin the table like a roulette wheel and chant the incantation. Once the spell is cast, snatch your name paper back. Finally, delete the rest of the papers simultaneously. Next day, nothing. He camped in the storeroom all night for zero payoff. Shen Yi starts suspecting his transmigration is linked to that sketchy ritual and those creepy names. A cold chill of impending doom washes over him. He flicks a flame from his fingertip, wondering if he can hook someone with these embers. His fire manipulation leveled up after the second summon, but it's still nerfed non-lethal, basically just a fancy party trick for intimidation. Why is he still so weak? Even after hopping dimensions, all he got was a spooky flashlight ability and a garbage mask. The High Priest hyped this item up as legendary gear, but to Shen Yi, it looks like vendor trash. Is he equipping it wrong? He slaps the mask on, trying to trigger a transformation, but crickets. Frustrated, he tosses it on the floor. And that's when the magic happens. The mask starts liquefying, melting into the shadows. Sudden realization hits him like a truck. He scrambles for a mirror. If his theory holds water, merging the mask with the shadows should unlock a character customization menu. Sitting before the glass, he re-equips the mask, and it dissolves, morphing him into the exact likeness of his client Baron. It worked. He's a perfect 4K clone, right down to the micro-expressions. Can he mod his body and outfit too? He feels like he just achieved his budget cosplay dreams. Suddenly, the summoning alarm triggers. The chant rings in his ears, familiar, but the vibes are off. He starts questioning. If a god can have different ringtones for different summoners, each one terrifyingly unique. Meanwhile, Baron is locking in. Praying, the deity picks up the phone. He's begging for the one thing his soul craves. It's April 30th Walpurgis Night, the Super Bowl for witches. He's been counting down the days for months. This ancient spell is supposed to ping one of the eldritch gods, a being predating humanity, an omniscient observer with god mode enabled. This entity trades knowledge for sacrifices. He's a double-edged sword, bringing hope and despair in the same package. Happiness, not in his inventory. Baron screams into the void. He doesn't care if he gets crucified, he just wants his daughter back. As bizarre glyphs manifest, Baron stares, wondering if the god is judging his drip. Legend says the entity usually appears as an infinite. White fog, reason unknown. Shen Yi spawns into the scene, muttering about how he accidentally auto-filled his appearance to match the customer he saw this morning. What are the odds? This guy doesn't look like loot. He's definitely the summoner. Shen Yi drops some lore generations of scholars named the god Haze of the White Shore, but titles are meaningless to a cosmic horror. Baron nods, getting deep humans only see what they project onto the divine. Shen Yi plays along. Baron is convinced he passed the vibe check and satisfied the god with his offering. He begs for the res on his daughter, presenting the legendary item, the Flaming Seed of Chaos. Shen Yi analyzes the situation from their earlier interaction. Baron seems like a decent NPC, not a villain, but revealing his identity now would be suicide. Better to stay in character until the cutscene ends. He finds Baron surprisingly polite, and thank God for the auto-cleanup feature. That massive corpse just deleted itself. No heavy lifting required. It feels like being swallowed whole by the void. Baron realizes he's standing in the presence of infinite power. Desperate, he begs the entity to resurrect his dead daughter. Shen Yi is internally screaming. He has zero clue who this Baron guy is, but he can sense the raw, suffocating grief radiating off the man. He feels bad, but let's be real, he doesn't have the cheats to pull off a resurrection. He quickly scans his memory of the lore. There are 8 nature types. The Lord of Ashes deals in tragedy, but he's playing a different role today. As the Haze of the White Shore, Shen Yi figures he needs to offer a reward. But what kind of loot does a cosmic entity drop? He recalls a line from the archives. Knowledge from the White Shore is beyond human comprehension. Perfect. He needs to drop something deep, abstract, and totally out of this world. And if Baron doesn't get it, Shen Yi can just gaslight him and say he lacks the wisdom to understand. Baron starts panicking at the silence, wondering if his offering was trash. Shen Yi finally speaks, declaring he will grant the wish with forbidden lore. He begins weaving a tale about the northern darkness, describing a legendary fish named Kun. This thing is massive, we're talking thousands of miles long. Absolute unit. It transforms into a bird named Peng, with a wingspan that blots out the sky. Shen Yi dubs this concept transcending bonds. He explains that the soul and body are separate entities. To truly free the soul, one must ditch the physical, material cage of this world. He emphasizes that this is forbidden knowledge, and the endgame isn't coming back to life. It's an upgrade. Those who grasp this truth achieve what mortals only dream of: an eternal, indestructible soul. He drops a warning. If this intel leaks, it won't just start wars, it'll flip the entire reality of the world upside down. With that mic drop, Shen Yi begins to fade away internally, praying the performance is over. Thank God he actually paid attention in lit class. Baron is left standing there, absolutely shook. He's convinced this transcending bonds theory is going to shatter society. He sees it as a terrifying karmic burden, unable to believe he brought this into existence. He thinks this must be Shen Yi's 4D chess move. The entity didn't just give him a resurrection spell. He handed over God-tier enlightenment. Shen Yi teleports back to his room, exhaling deeply. He handled that like a pro, no rookie mistakes this time. He checks the clock, 11 sharp. The ancient text was legit. It confirms that the Haze of the White Shore is an interdimensional deity representing the 11th hour. So no Lord of Ashes this run. He pulled the White Shore character instead. He wonders if this is going to be a recurring gacha pull. He notes the summon location was an old castle. Checking his phone, he confirms the summoner was Baron, and the mission objective was reviving his daughter. He has a photo of the scene, but without GPS coordinates. It's pretty useless right now. Still, he admits snapping that pic was a risky move that might jeopardize his cover. But intel is intel. He's actually kicking himself for not documenting the first 2 summons. Time for the loot check. He tries to activate his powers to see if he leveled up, But after straining himself, he realizes nothing. No upgrade. The flames are still at base level. Major bummer. At least the mask disguise is flawless. He looks at the seed Baron gave him. It's good the guy was considerate enough not to offer a whole cow. Shen Yi isn't exactly built to drag carcasses around. As a god, he finds the lizard vibe of the seed creepy. But if he wants to unlock the secrets of that unknown dimension, this item is key. He stashes the seed in a box and shoves it in a drawer. Later that night, while Shen Yi is out cold, the seed cracks open and morphs into a lizard. It creeps up and tries to wake him, but the guy is sleeping like a log. Terrified by Shen Yi's thunderous snoring, the lizard bails, wandering outside before shapeshifting into a cat. Meanwhile, enter George, one of the 7 elite Grade A investigators in Nolan. This guy is known for soloing crises that would wipe out squads. He's basically an idol to the rookies at the Anti-Magic Bureau, who whisper his nicknames with reverence: the legendary investigator, the strange killer, the undead raven. On a gloomy, rainy day, George is patrolling with his umbrella, roasting someone over his earpiece. He demands the other person stop rambling and get to the point. The voice on the line apologizes, blaming the adrenaline, and gives the "I'm just a human with one heart" excuse. The intel: a kid was spotted with a weird chalice, hanging around a specific area. But according to the background check, the shop owner, there is squeaky clean. Although the owner is annoyingly handsome, George still has to run the investigation by the book, following strict Anti-Magic Bureau protocols. George snaps his umbrella shut, staring at the shop. "Understood," he says. His internal monologue kicks in. This isn't a routine check. This case is classified top secret and serious as hell. Cut to another location. A girl sits in a dark room, her face obscured by the faint, colorless gloom. Suddenly, a bright light illuminates her features. She's been watching. She's been waiting. Her reflection screamed from the blinding light as she shrieked that an evil god had descended right here in Nolan. George just smirked, amused. What could be worse than an evil god showing up? Total human extinction. Please, that's barely a warm-up. He fished a photograph from his coat pocket, staring at it with a sigh. Damn shame. If the resolution wasn't absolute garbage, he might have actually seen a face. Instead, he was looking at a blurry girl with cascading gray hair. And of course, her back was turned, keeping her identity a total mystery. Pocketing the clue, he headed straight for Shen's coffee shop. He ordered a latte. Shen, who was busy wiping down the counter, nodded and said it'd be up in a heartbeat. "Take a load off," Shen added. George scanned the guy. Honestly, Shen looked like the definition of an NPC, totally ordinary. This guy clearly hadn't seen a ghost, let alone a god. George mentally filed this as another dead-end waste of his time. Shen slid the steaming cup across the counter. "Here you go. Enjoy." George took a sip, keeping it casual. "So seen anything weird around here lately?" Shen froze, eyes widening as cold sweat started to drip. "Weird? You mean like supernatural stuff?" Sensing the trap, Shen squeezed his eyes shut. The weather's been trash, so business is slow. That's all." Inside, his mind was racing. Did I say too much? He panicked, forcing himself to chill out before he blew his cover entirely. "Got it. Thanks," George replied, playing along. By 2 p.m., the cup was empty, and George stood up to bounce. Shen, already hiding behind his smartphone, called out, "Take care." George threw back a polite thanks for the brew. The door clicked shut. Shen slumped against the counter, exhaling a massive breath. He finally cracked a smile. Okay, he really was just a normal customer. Shen shook his head. He was definitely overthinking this whole secret identity thing, even if that guy did look like a hitman. Suddenly, Shen's fingers twitched violently. His brows furrowed. A chill shot through his gut. Seriously, new powers taking their sweet time to load. He glared at his phone screen. Apparently, instant activation wasn't a feature after summoning. He groaned, thrusting his hand out like an anime protagonist. Nothing happened except some awkward sweating. Why can't I blast anything? But he could feel the energy surging under his skin. He tried to move the energy around. Suddenly, Shen dissolved. His entire body shifted into a swirling haze, drifting right through the shelves. Holy crap, he screamed internally. I just turned into literal water vapor. He realized he had full control. He could navigate while in ghost mode. Just as quickly, he solidified back into human form, stumbling onto the floor. 10 seconds, he muttered, surprised. Honestly, that's way more useful than shooting fire. Great for running away. Clack. The lock turned. George was standing there. He stepped back inside. Shen, fully solid now, but panicking, spun around. Forget something. His skin was still faintly glowing with a fiery hue. That was too close, Shen thought. 1 second earlier and I'd be busted. George didn't blink. I caught the scent of an evil god. I could feel it radiating from miles away. He described it as a power so dark it was absolutely suffocating. He stared at Shen. I totally underestimated this guy, George thought. Suddenly, he felt a flaming aura exploding from Shen's body. George's nerves snapped, tight sweat breaking out instantly. Why the hell did I come back in here? It was way more terrifying up close. George grit his teeth, fists clenching. The pressure of the evil god's scent. It was crushing the coffee shop. George felt like a tiny dinghy about to be capsized by a tsunami. Desperate to break the tension, Shen chirped, another coffee." George forced a smile, terrified. "Sure, a latte." "Coming right up," Shen said. "Wait, hold on. I think I'm out of ingredients. Let me check the back." Shen bolted into the storage room. The second the door latched shut, he started hyperventilating. Did he see it? Does he know? Do I confess? Do I deny it? He had no idea what the fallout would be if he came clean now. He clutched his head. "No, I can't talk my way out of this. I need a plan to fool him." Out front, George was drenching his shirt in sweat. He knew the missing ingredients excuse was total bogus. Why would Shen flare his god-tier aura like that for no reason? He wanted me to come back. It was a lure. George's eyes darted to the counter. Shen's phone. It was lying right there. George stepped forward. He left this on purpose. It's a message. He unlocked the screen and swiped through the gallery, only to find hundreds of pictures of cats. Scrolling through the camera roll. Man, swipe after swipe, it's just endless cat spam. Shen is officially obsessed. Wait, he pauses. Amidst the feline overload, one pic feels wrong. A glitch in the matrix. A hidden location with a glowing spell circle. Eyes wide, he zooms in. He can only see a fragment, but there's no mistaking that geometry. It's a high-level summoning ritual. He needs answers now. He steels himself to decode Shen's cryptic message. Meanwhile, Shen is struggling with a heavy grocery haul, kicking open the back door of the cafe. "Yo, got the goods, just give me a sec." Silence. He scans the room. Empty. George ghosted him. Shen scratches his head. Where'd he go? Then he spots it. George's phone abandoned on the counter. Did he leave in an emergency? Cut to the dark dimension from the photo. The exact coordinates of that spell circle. A heavy metal door groans open. George steps into the void, scanning the architecture. It actually exists. The air is thick, choking on the stench of an other-dimensional deity. Smoky haze swirls through the gloom, parting to reveal a massive silhouette. A giant lizard monster looms in the fog, its glowing eyes locking onto George. George grips his umbrella unbothered. He sniffs the air. That's not the Lord of Ashes. "What is a grunt like you doing here?" The beast roars and lunges. George yells, the seed of chaos. He leaps vertical, the monster misses, smashing headfirst into the wall. Boom, explosion of debris. George touches down on a falling slab of concrete, taps his toe, and relaunches himself skyward. Gravity is just a suggestion. Mid-air backflip. He chants requisition and concession. Third blade. The weapon materializes in his grip. He hurls it down like a thunderbolt. You might be tier 2 on the danger scale. Abnormal, twisted, disastrous, untouchable. But this one shot should delete you. The monster spins around in the smoke, looking up just in time to see its doom. Pure terror. George sticks the landing, while the creature shrieks behind him. He doesn't look back. Mental command, target the head. The blade punches right through the skull. George stands, eyes snapping open. He recalls the weapon. Requisition and concession. The wounded beast panics, smashing through the ruined wall to flee. George sighs. Useless. As long as you're in this dimension, I can't miss. He leans casually against the wall and throws the blade blind. The weapon phases out of existence. A split second later, crack. A roar of impact echoes from the rainy darkness outside. High-speed chase in the pouring rain. George spams the chant, requisition and concession. Another blade manifests, launching at supersonic speed to tag the monster. He chants again, reloading instantly, firing another spectral weapon into the sky to track the beast. He's turning into a human machine gun, summon and shoot, until the blade finally snaps back to his hand. George grimaces. This thing is a tank. The cost is adding up. He's already paid with the sensation in 2 fingers, 2 toes, and half his face. 5 direct hits, and it's still moving. The rain pounds down on him. He realizes the grim truth. Physical attacks aren't cutting it. He can't kill it this way. My DPS is too low, he mutters. I need a sorcerer for this kind of boss fight. He pops his umbrella open, strolling through the wreckage. Wonder how that Baron guy is holding up. Hand to his earpiece. Intel check. The seed of chaos is definitely kin to the Lord of Ashes. The residual energy screams haze of the White Shore. And this whole Baranda operation, it's got a massive cast of characters. He speaks into the comms. I'm drafting a full report for the Bureau. Tell the anti-magic suits to upgrade this target's threat level. Mark it untouchable for now. Cut to 2 months later. A storm rages. A streak of fire tears across the skyline, skimming rooftops, threading a window, and zooming straight into the Musselman coffee shop. Snap. Shen catches the flame barehanded. He freezes processing the data. Max range achieved 985 feet. The flame acts as a surveillance drone. He hears the voices, sees the faces of everyone it passed. A vivid 4K movie playing in his brain. Eyes open. Phase 2, let's go. He raises a hand, shouting an incantation before slapping the counter. Poof. His hand dissolves into swirling smoke. Just turning to haze isn't enough, Shen analyzes. I need instant vaporization to make this work. He shakes his smoky limb. And this form is stiff. Can't expand, can't contract. He sighs. Still got work to do. Only his right arm morphed, but his left hand. He summons a flame. One side for brawling, the other for burning. Totally different skill trees. He figures that wraps up the grind for today's training arc. Later, staring at the ceiling, it hits him. George has been ghosting the cafe for days, and business is tanking without him. Shen's just lying there waiting for his golden goose to walk back through the door, so he can get that cash flow moving again. He thinks back to all the heavy lore he dropped on George, about his homeworld. George always looked like he was downloading the secrets of the universe, completely locked in. Shen figures it's clutch, having another powered-up ally in this realm. If his cover ever gets blown and the mob comes hunting, maybe George will have his back. He squeezes his eyes shut, manifesting that reality. Please don't let it be just wishful thinking. Boom. Suddenly, he's surrounded by flaming tunnels crashing down like meteors. Thud, thud. Shen stands there bewildered. Is this a dream? Is the whole world made of soot? Is this the Lord of Ashes' crib? He spins around. Anna, just standing there. He creeps up behind her, analyzing the situation. Is she the dreamer here? A wicked little intrusive thought sparks in his brain. If this is her headspace, he's basically a god here. He reaches out and squishes her cheeks like dough. They stand together watching the inferno. Shen senses the connection fading. This dream is on a timer. He's only seen this place once in 2 whole months. Super rare drop rate. What triggers this event? Whatever. Time to log out. He pats Anna's head. Peace out. Poof. Gone. Back in reality, Anna jolts awake screaming the Lord's name in pure terror. Flashback. She tried an astral projection ritual, right before crashing. She tried to ping the Lord of Ashes, and she thinks she actually got through. She winks, one eye shut, straining to check her own back. It's burning up like crazy. Why does it feel like lava? She twists around. Boom. A brand from the Lord himself. She is absolutely shook. Meanwhile, outside in the pouring rain, a figure in a black hooded robe is on the move. Inside the cafe, Shen is pacing a hole in the floor, muttering. He's never actually spoken to this girl, but he's seen her 3 times now. Every encounter has been a total glitch in the Matrix. Outside, the hooded figure stops dead. Time to go in. Shen is still monologuing. Honestly, better to keep it virtual. Thank God Anna and her cultist crew don't have his address. If they doxed him, his life would be a nightmare. Creak. The door swings open. The hooded figure steps in. It's Anna. Shen doesn't even look up from his prep. Welcome, she turns toward his voice. Shen looks up and his heart drops. Anna. Panic mode. Engage. This is bad. The shadow mask is stashed in the backroom drawer. He whips around, hiding his face. What can I get you? Anna pulls back, her wet hood confused. You are asking me, she says. Shen grinds his teeth so hard they might crack. How did she track him down? They've never exchanged a single word. The math isn't mathing. Do these cultists have GPS hacks? Prophecies? Some kind of cheat code? He needs to bluff fast. Still facing the wall, he drops his voice to a mysterious bass. So you finally arrived. Mental smirk. He's appeared as a god twice. She's got to be losing her mind right now, standing before her idol. She just stares at his back, totally lost. Who are you? Shen turns around, ready to perform. He acts shocked. Oh, what brings you here? But the air leaves the room. When Anna just replies flatly, I don't need anything. Shen strokes his chin, processing. Okay, she's not hostile. He did save her life twice after all. You look beat. How about a coffee, my treat? Whatever you want. She hesitates. I don't know much about coffee. He softens his tone. Vanilla latte it is. Sweet and simple. Perfect for someone your age. She rolls with the suggestion, but as she spins around to leave, her gut is screaming that this whole situation is totally sus. Who is this creepy adult, and does he seriously know her? While she's stressing, Shen just cracks a smug little smile. Aina was completely spaced out, her brain still buffering from that unexpected glimpse of her deity. She slumped into the chair, trying to figure out why the cafe reeked of that heavy, twisted aroma unique to the Lord of Ashes. It was suffocating, and honestly, it was ticking her off. She needed to know who this barista guy really was. Shen returned, sliding a vanilla latte onto the table, and casually noted that she was probably dying to know why he was hanging around. Aina shot him a look that was equal parts shock and confusion. Before dropping a bomb, she could literally feel the Lord of Ashes aura radiating from this very spot. Hearing that, Shen's eyes went dead, then did a full 360 roll. A smirk tugged at his lips. She still hadn't connected the dots. Internally, he admitted defeat. He definitely carried the scent, and had zero clue how to scrub it off, so the charade had to go on. He closed his eyes, resigning himself to the grind. There was no way he could just announce, hey, I'm the Lord of Ashes, straight to her face. Trying to maintain a divine persona while pulling espresso shots, 9 to 5, impossible. But since she was still guessing, he figured he could pivot. New role, the mysterious divine messenger. The guy on speed dial with God. Ina took a sip of the latte, cheeks flushing pink as she licked the foam from her lips, murmuring about how sweet and cold it was. Shen tossed a towel right over her head, telling her to dry off that soaking wet hair. Turning his back to her to prep the next brew maximum cool points, he declared that the Lord of Ashes sees everything. Suddenly, the door hinges screamed. George stumbled in, looking like he'd just walked out of a slaughterhouse, clothes drenched in fresh blood. Shen nearly jumped out of his skin, sweating buckets. Did George just survive a war zone? Then the realization hit him like a truck. Ina was still sitting right there, panic mode engaged. He had to keep these two apart at all costs. Still sweating profusely, he pointed toward the back room, plastering on a weird, strained smile as he ushered George to take a seat inside. George was floored. He thought Shen was playing 4D chess, marveling that the shop owner had seemingly predicted his arrival, and even prepped an interrogation room. He nodded and followed orders. George collapsed onto the sofa, while Shen took the chair opposite him. George wasted no time assuming Shen already knew he was a Fed from the Anti-Magic Bureau. Even though the brass called them defenders of civilization, George was real about it. He knew they were just cannon fodder, meat for the grinder on the front lines. Shen gave a sympathetic nod, saying that sounded rough while stealing a glance at the main room. Ina was aggressively drying her hair, the towel completely masking her face. Shen silently thanked every star in the sky that George hadn't clocked her, probably thinking she was just some random girl hiding from the rain. George cut to the chase. He needed a favor. Shen flashed his customer service smile, insisting he'd brew a coffee first, and they could talk business after. George wondered if caffeine was some weird ritual here, but didn't complain. Shen slipped out, shutting the door and peeking through the crack with a grin, whispering that George was definitely paying for that drink. Door secured, Shen leaned back and muttered, "What are the odds?" Realizing he had to extract one particular customer immediately, he ghosted up behind Ina and, lowering his voice to a whisper, asked if the cult was the reason she was here. Ina's face went blank as the brand on her back started burning up. She looked up at Shen, explaining that the cult was in dire straits, being hunted down by a Black Ops mission called Operation Hush Strike. She needed to summon the Lord of Ashes fast. Shen asked for details on Hush Strike, then immediately switched gears, assuring her to put her faith in the Lord to handle the mess. He moved with purpose, striking a pose right in front of her table, raising a hand like he was commanding the elements, and boomed. That fear was unnecessary. She just needed to trust the Lord's power, because their golden age was just around the corner. Ina pressed her lips together, breaking into a nervous sweat, replying that she didn't totally get it, but it sounded epic. Shen doubled down, promising the Lord of Ashes, had her back and guaranteed the win, suggesting she head home to lay low. She stood up, fully convinced. Once she was gone, Shen walked back to George with the coffee, apologizing for the delay and asking what the big favor was. George reached into his bloodstained jacket, pulled out a photo, and slammed it on the table. He was there to hunt down the girl in the picture. He suspected she was a cultist and warned that these fanatics had become a massive threat to the Order of Veranda, a threat the Bureau needed to liquidate. He handed the photo to Shen, and the moment Shen looked at it, his brain froze. His eyes rolled back into his head, screaming internally at the cosmic joke. Staring at the photo, Shen wondered why on earth he would help George hunt her down when he was literally her accomplice, trapped in a situation he couldn't explain to either side. He forced a nod, agreeing to help find her secretly, hoping he'd be the one to get to the girl first. George squinted at the photo. It was a total pixelated mess. You couldn't even tell if the kid was a guy or a girl. Plus, nobody ever mentioned spotting this mystery kid on the streets. Looks like coming to Shen was the money move. But everything has a price tag. Shen just flashed a cryptic smile and told him to mark it down as a favor. George crossed his arms, frowning hard enough to crack his face. He'd way rather drop a massive pile of cash than owe a debt to a sketchy enigma like Shen. Nah, he'd trade a rare relic instead to square the deal. He stood up, promising to slide through with a gift in a few days. Shen just kept smiling and waved him off. The door clicked shut. Alone, Shen gripped his hair, stressing out. He whispered that he was probably just tripping over nothing, but it felt like he was dead center in a downward spiral. Meanwhile, under the bright daylight, Yana perched on the rooftop, gazing at the lush greenery below. Baron showed up, calling her name. She spun around, answering with total respect. Baron stepped up, asking what was on her mind. Her face went beet red, lips pressed tight in nervous energy, and she tapped her index fingers together, classic shy move, before forcing a smile. She hoped the payout could be just a little fatter. She reminded him of her situation. She's got 8 siblings to feed, and that is not cheap. Avoiding eye contact, she mentioned her classmates got sent to the E.R. last time. This run felt way sketchier, so could he bump up her rate? Baron looked tragic, but admitted she had serious grit, and stayed active after the ritual despite having 0 talent. Still, he gave her the green light. Yana literally started jumping for joy. Baron squeezed his eyes shut, thinking only peasants obsessed over cash like that. and that the mystery VIP at the cafe definitely wouldn't care about material junk. Then he announced it was time to start the summoning. Cut to a pitch-black room. Baron sat in the center of a lightning circle and drove a blade straight into his palm. Crimson splattered, dripping onto the runes as he called out to the nameless, the indescribable, the unknown. He summoned the abyss, confessing his heart was overflowing with agony and despair, which he'd use as a bridge to connect. He was ready to commit ultimate good, or ultimate evil. He just prayed the entity would manifest in this dimension and grant his one true desire. Yana stood in the back, trembling like a leaf. She jammed her fingers into her ears, refusing to witness this nightmare. Suddenly, Baron's double materialized, draped in smoke and crackling lightning. This dude had jet black hair totally unlike Baron's brown locks. The double watched him thinking he should just let the guy be, realizing Baron had zero clue how to actually resurrect his daughter, as Baron kept chanting to the haze of the white shore. And the controller of worlds, he admitted the entity was god tier, but his own understanding was way too shallow to grasp the message. The double stood in silence, thinking there was no way Baron could unlock supernatural hacks like this. Stepping forward, the double whispered, asking if Baron craved more. Then he remembered Baron couldn't even see him, but the real Baron, teeth gritted and eyes shut tight, screamed that he wanted it all, and hungered for that forbidden hypnotic knowledge. The double, shrouded in smoke, murmured that the wish was a go, if the sacrifice was right. He paused in front of Yana, snapped her picture, and then turned to capture more shots. The real Baron stood up, declaring he had an offering that would satisfy the gods. He held out a silver ring. The double slid it off Baron's finger, thinking, yeah, looks like silver. But knowing Baron could barely cover next month's utilities, he really should pawn this if he needed cash. Outside, a girl walked up to the door and shoved it open. Inside, the double watched Baron, wondering what fake spell he should spit out this time. Meanwhile, the real Baron knelt there wondering what kind of dark secrets were coming his way. Suddenly, the girl pierced through the smoke and darkness, crying out, "Father!" Baron's eyes snapped open. Was that Yifu? Yana cracked one eye open, scanning the room, asking who was there. But when she saw a massive, shadowy figure looming over her, she freaked out and collapsed to the floor. Yifu walked up to Baron, whispering that it felt like she'd been trapped in a long, never-ending nightmare. Someone was waiting in the dream, calling her name, begging her to wake up. It felt like eternity, but a sudden chill snapped her awake. Hearing this, the double just smirked, wondering if Baron actually pulled off a resurrection. How the hell did he do it? He pinched his nose, questioning if Baron actually learned something real from the free and easy wandering teachings. He honestly has no clue how Baron pulled this off, but the result is gold. Baron is now convinced more than ever that Shen is a literal god. The entity fades into thin air, dropping a final promise. If the offering makes the cut, there's a sweet reward coming. But there's a catch. Next time they summon him, the sacrifice better be high tier. No cheap stuff allowed. Baron scrambles to his feet, eyes darting around for the disappearing act, completely confused by the demand for a better sacrifice. Talk about a tough critic. It looks like today's offering was barely a warm-up, and the entity was definitely not satisfied. He'd locked away that forbidden lore, but then Yifu dropped a bombshell on her dad. She felt a strange warmth in the air. It was like a guardian angel was watching her from the fog, making her feel safe and happy. Baron's jaw clenched. His eyes darted nervously. She's being watched by the haze of the white shore. A twisted, evil grin crept up his face as he stared into the void. The gears turned in his head. If he sacrificed Yifu, he could unlock god-tier forbidden magic. The thought totally consumed him. Yifu, sensing the mood shift, placed a hand on his shoulder. "Dad, what's wrong?" Tears instantly welled in Baron's eyes. He screamed her name, spinning around to crush her in a bear hug. "I'm so sorry. I won't let anyone touch you. Never again." He swore that nothing in this world would take her away from him. Yifu beamed, promising she wasn't going anywhere. Suddenly, boom. Baron sensed a massive presence. Face twisted in rage, he squared up against a blinding, colorful pillar of light that shot vertically through the hall. He roared into the abyss, addressing the controller of worlds, the magnificent lord of the haze. "I'll get you a better tribute next time. Just stop obsessing over my daughter." Chen, watching from the void, just facepalmed. Dude, I literally glanced at her for a second. Talk about a drama queen. Did he really need to crash out like that? Meanwhile, back in the smoke, the scene shifted. Baron was on his knees while his partner towered over him. "The Hush Strikes approached me days ago for an alliance," the partner stated. "They offered a catastrophic-level mystery relic as payment." Baron gestured wildly. "I hate dealing with cultists, but my hands are tied." Back in reality, Chen phased into his cafe, letting his haze form dissipate. He let out a heavy sigh. His stats were definitely buffed. Naturally, he started wondering, if this is mid-tier, what does the endgame ability look like? Tapping his foot impatiently, he initiated the D-transformation. He stared at his right arm as it morphed back into a regular human hand. Man, what a waste, he thought. He still couldn't figure out how to use the ring Baron gave him. Another deep sigh. He was a total noob when it came to this supernatural stuff. Rubbing his chin, he pondered, do they expect me to grind at work? Just to buy expensive occult textbooks? Smack. He slapped his own face in frustration. Get it together. That's not very God tier. That's straight up corporate slave mentality. Gripping his chin, he thought, maybe I should just hit up George and let him explain the ring mechanics. Whatever. He grabbed his custom raincoat off the rack and shook it out. Time to head out and flex the new purchase. Dang, expensive custom gear really hits different, he noted happily, admiring the colors. Mask on, hat on. Chen stepped into the alleyway, marching through the downpour. It was raining cats and dogs out there. He hopped on the bus, his brain ticking. Last time Baron summoned him, he'd snapped some intel shots of a building through the window. Raincoat off, dry seat secured. He whipped out his phone to swipe through the gallery. That building, probably lurking, on the edge of South Bayranda. Zooming in on the photo, he made a deduction. If he wasn't tripping, those high walls had a glass walkway acting as an observatory deck. This international hub was split into 4 zones. Bayranda, the moneymaker and trade center. West Bayranda, the power seat with Nolan's palace. Home to the prime ministers, the councils, and the big government wigs. East Bayranda, factory central for the working class. And South Bayranda, a chaotic mix of condos, industry, and shops. Massive walls separated the districts. You couldn't just stroll across. Regular folks needed government clearance. Just to cross the border. Fast forward a bit. Chen stood on the high bridge rain, battering his coat hand, covering his mouth. He spotted a dark-haired girl, standing nearby in a blue raincoat. Who else is crazy enough to be on an observation deck? In this lousy weather, just him. The girl turned. Her internal radar went off. She'd never sensed anyone this powerful, in this dimension. Chen, glued to his binoculars, decided to ignore her. He had bigger fish to fry. Bingo. This is the right angle. He had to wonder, did Baron have a side hustle? Besides being a sorcerer, the guy gave off serious long con energy. Chen needed dirt on Baron's victims. Once he had that intel, he could drop divine secrets that would absolutely shatter their minds. He twisted the focus dial, whispering to himself. That was the only way to keep his cover from getting blown. Summoning an other-dimensional deity. Yeah, that was strictly off-limits for Baron. One slip-up and Shen finds out, then snitches to George. Game over. His gaze shifted to the bus stop, locking onto a girl hopping aboard. Instant recognition, she was the one who passed out earlier. Based on her fit, she was definitely a student, no matter where that bus was headed. It rolled right past Baden Empire Academy. The age match was too perfect. Shen realized Baron had to be hiding in plain sight as a student there. He pivoted, catching sight of that blue raincoat just a few feet away. Standing on the observatory deck in this downpour, she was definitely hiding something. But then he shook his head. He was spiraling, getting way too paranoid. She was a nobody, irrelevant, time to bounce. But as he walked away, the girl's eyes bore into his back. Her senses flared. The stench of the Lord of Ashes was thick, suffocating. Who the hell was this guy, really? She squeezed her eyes shut, calming the urge. She'd been inches away from snapping and drawing her blade right there. Right on cue, George rolled up, umbrella in hand. He sized her up, asking if she was the rookie partner he was stuck with. You, a high schooler, Su Ling, right? She spun around, ready to set the record straight. College, she snapped. Freshman at Baden Empire Academy. George shut his eyes, looking like he had a migraine coming on. Nolan is officially screwed, he muttered. He couldn't believe the Anti-Magic Bureau teamed him up with a kid who still needed a hall pass. I need to retire. Su Ling wasn't having it. I'm in college. I'm 17. I skipped a grade, okay. So, age-wise, you're a high schooler. She practically screamed, I am a college student. George jammed a finger in his ear, grimacing at the volume. Su Ling glared daggers, knuckles white, as she clenched her fists. I'm a B-grade investigator, she hissed. 10 years of combat experience before I even signed up. I might be new here, but don't you dare treat me like some helpless rookie. George let out a dry chuckle. All right. Message received. College student. His face went serious. But honestly, doesn't matter if you're in high school or med school. We've got bigger problems. Su Ling dropped the attitude, her expression shifting to innocent curiosity. She listened as George dropped the bomb. The city was on the brink. The cult was prepping for another ritual. They'd picked a high-value sacrifice for a ceremony at a downtown club. Su Ling's eyes widened. Miranda, fill me in on the way, she ordered. George blinked, confused. Where exactly are you going? I'm starving, she chirped, innocence fully restored. You're buying. George balked. Excuse me, why am I paying? Su Ling held up a finger. 1. Respect your elders. No, wait, respect the youth. I'm the newbie, you're the veteran. It's etiquette. She ticked off a second finger. 2. You're higher rank. Better wage, killer benefits, fat annual bonuses. Do the math. George facepalmed. Fine, my treat. He sighed. We're going to my usual spot. I need you to meet someone there anyway. Su Ling pouted but shrugged. Whatever, as long as the food keeps coming. Cut to Shen. The hot water blasted down, washing away the grime. Man, that feels better, he muttered. Next, stop the library. Dark, smoky haze drifted off his hair as he scrubbed. He thought back to his last visit. Last time he bribed a guy to grab a book. This time he was just going to borrow the guy's face. Literally. George burst into the coffee shop. "Hello, anybody home?" Shen's voice floated out, irritated. "George, what are you doing here?" "We got a customer," George bellowed. Shen grabbed a towel, frantically covering up. He kicked the sliding door open, dripping wet. Su Ling had already ditched her raincoat, scanning the place. "Thought you said there was a guy here," she asked, unimpressed. "Door's unlocked," George replied. "He's around somewhere." Shen stepped into view, looking exasperated. "Seriously, George? In this downpour?" At the sound of his voice, Su Ling spun around. Shen flashed his best customer service smile. "You must really crave this coffee, old man." But Su Ling froze. That scent. Heavy. Oppressive. The Lord of Ashes was standing right in front of her. Her eyes locked onto him. Suddenly, she wasn't in a cafe. She was back there. A red book consumed by flames. Shen's manic evil laughter echoing. Fire ripping through a red-roofed house. A sword crackling with lightning plunged deep into something burning alive. The memory burned. Su Ling bit her lip, rage boiling over. If she could just end them all right now. Oblivious to her internal crisis, Shen tilted his head. "Does the Anti-Magic Bureau hire child labor now? Aren't you still in high school?" Su Ling's face went stone cold. She said nothing. George's warning played in her head. Just observe, he had told her on the way over. Don't engage. Just watch him. Remembering that moment, she scrunched her face tight, biting her lip to suppress a scream. Finally, she let out a furious huff and dropped the bomb that she was a college student. George barely held back a snort. Leaning in toward Shen, George whispered loud enough to hear freshman year. Basically still a high schooler. She's 17. Same difference. Su Ling just stared daggers at him, her expression deadpan and lethal. "All right, intro's over," George said, cutting the tension. "Let's get down to business." He brought up the person he needed Shen to track, but Shen just pointed at the counter. "Coffee first, intel later." "Fine. Another latte," George sighed in defeat. While Shen nodded, Su Ling was already burying her nose in the menu. Her eyes literally sparkled at the pictures. She started rattling off a feast mousse, cake chicken sandwich tiramisu, fresh cream cake, egg tarts, donuts, macarons. Then she dropped the mic. "Make it double. 2 of everything." Shen shrank back, looking up at this bottomless pit of a girl. And what kind of coffee do you want?" "I don't know, coffee. You pick," she shrugged. Shen smirked, accepting the challenge. "In that case, leave it to me. I'll whip up something you'll love." She nodded, and Shen spun around to start prep. Shen was mentally counting the profits, but George was sweating bullets. "You realize you're wasting food, right?" "Whatever I don't eat, I bag up," she shot back. George squeezed his eyes shut, pained. "Kid, you don't order a feast at a coffee shop. It's not filling and costs a fortune. Your treat." Remember, George went dead silent. She started ticking off fingers, listing his perks like a savage. "Grade A investigator. You make more than 99% of the population. Free housing. Full healthcare for the whole family tree. Tuition covered. Travel comped. Plus those fat mission bonuses." She leaned in. "Can't you just expense this to the bureau? We're on the clock finding Shen, aren't we?" George let out a heavy sigh. "The perks are great. If you live long enough to retire." He side-eyed her. "But you're grade B. Why are you so broke?" She shut her eyes, dodging the question. "I have expenses." Cut to the table, groaning under a mountain of pastries. While she inhaled the food like a vacuum, George sat at the next table, back turned to her facing Shen. So George lowered his voice. "Any leads on my request? I know Brenda is a total mess right now." "How much do you know?" Shen probed. "That's it. That's all we've got," George admitted. "If this goes south, we're talking about an other-dimensional god. Total unpredictability. Even if it's not evil, just its presence would fry a normal human's brain." George wiped sweat from his brow, eyes shut tight. Worst-case scenario. Shen just rolled his eyes, smirking. If the ritual is that big, how does the cult sacrifice a whole city without the entire world watching? Shen went quiet, thinking back to Anna's warning about a new sacrificial ritual. The Chaos Cult doesn't have the juice for that, he thought. Anna had mentioned they were being hunted. Hush strike. Shen's sweat dropped, testing George. "You know them." A chill ran down George's spine. This guy knows everything. "Yeah," he managed. Hush strike. They hit the Anti-Magic Bureau hard. Heavy casualties. No idea what their endgame is. But if they aren't trying to nuke the city with a sacrifice, they're tomorrow's problem. George slid a box across the table. "I owed you one. This wipes the slate clean." Shen looked wary. "Does taking this mean I have to hunt down Anna for you?" "Just keep it," George insisted. In the background, Su Ling had decimated the feast. Only crumbs and a few scraps left. George turned back. "Did you turn down the job because it's too much heat?" "I'm not helping," Shen stated flatly. "But I will say this, the girl in the photo, she's not the enemy. Chaos Cult and Hush Strike are at each other's throats right now. That one's on the house." George stood up, nodding. "Understood. Thanks for the tip." He signaled Su Ling. "Let's roll." Su Ling, mid-bite of ice cream, waved at Shen. Box this up. Shen gave a polite smile. Sorry, no takeout boxes here. Su Ling froze, horrified. She whipped her head around to glare at George, who just closed his eyes, accepting his fate. Cut to George watching in shock as Su Ling angrily speed eats every last cupcake and sandwich out of pure spite. Rain lashed down as Shen stood looming outside the academy, clad in a slick raincoat and muttering to the storm. One goal, the library. Just past this checkpoint lay a treasure trove of over 700,000 volumes. No student ID, no problem. He'd just vaporize into mist and ghost his way in through the restroom vents. In that form, physics didn't apply. He could breeze through the tiniest hairline fracture, making a security window look like an open barn door. Big mistake. He materialized straight into the girl's bathroom. Cue the scream, cue the immediate stinging, slap across the face. Moments later, he was chilling outside wearing a stolen face and a fresh uniform. Borrowing someone else's identity, way too convenient. He breezed into the library eyes, scanning the shelves, hunting for one specific tome. Bingo. He cracked it open, needing dirt on the chaos cult. But as he started reading, cold sweat began to drip. These fanatics hadn't just prayed, they'd actually summoned the legendary Lord of Ashes. The text described pure apocalypse oceans boiling into steam skies choked with smog, and the earth scorched black. Shen realized he was nowhere near that power level yet. Back then, this cult was strong enough to topple an entire kingdom. They obliterated the military, leaving nothing but bodies in their wake. They executed the king, plundered the treasury, and abducted the royal women. Straight up nightmare fuel. They were the ultimate evil on the second largest continent. But even legends fall, the Corona Church nearly wiped them off the map. Shen slammed the book shut and shelved it. Just a washed-up cult that peaked centuries ago. He snagged another title, The Silent Language by Yale Verd. A relic from 100 years ago. Safe to assume the author was long gone. Here was the tea: some cults thrived on divine handouts, but most followers got zero perks, making recruitment a total grind. The only way to build a loyal army, exploit their paralyzing fear of death. That was the horror of Hush Strike. It wasn't monsters. It was regular people conducting rituals that defied logic. Their deity embodied winter itself, a symbol of absolute silence, finality, and the grave. While Shen was deep in the lore, footsteps crept up behind him through the stacks. He read on oblivious Hush Strike rituals, started by slaughtering a chosen sacrifice. The gift was eternal peace and silence. Truly disturbed stuff. But Shen paused. Was sacrificing a soul really that bad if it saved the city? Suddenly, logic flew out the window. Panic hit him like a truck. Someone was watching him. He spun around, sweating bullets. The stalker, none other than Baron. Baron stared him down, calling him Yasi, and dropping a bomb. Aren't you supposed to be on sick leave? Shen froze, eyes squeezing shut. He totally forgot whose face he was wearing. He scratched his head brain, scrambling for an excuse while Baron repeated the name. Shen cursed internally. Of all the students to impersonate, he picked one this guy actually knew. What are the odds he'd walked right into a trap? He plastered on a shaky smile, acting like running into a teacher was a pleasant surprise. Shen sized Baron up. This guy's scholarly aura was seriously throwing him off. He laughed it off, lying through his teeth. Oh, I'm feeling way better. Just here to meet a friend, actually. Then he grabbed his head, feigning a dizzy spell. Oof, actually, maybe the fever's back. I should bounce. Baron didn't look convinced. You should be resting, especially in this downpour. Then Baron's eyes locked onto the book in Shen's hand. The Silent Language, into the occult, now. Shen chuckled nervously, trying to play it cool. It's super interesting. I know it's fake, but it reads like a fantasy novel. Can't put it down. Baron raised an eyebrow. Funny. You don't show this much dedication in my math class. Ouch. Shen immediately shoved the book back on the shelf and tried to shuffle away. Yeah, not feeling well, gotta go. Mind if I walk with you? Baron asked. Shen stopped dead in his tracks. He squeezed his eyes shut, defeated. Sure. Fast forward to the corridor, the silence deafening. Baron paused. Hold up a sec. Need to drop something in the activity room. Shen, heart pounding, stood behind him with his eyes closed. No problem. He peeked one eye open, watching Baron like a hawk. Never in a million years did I expect to run into him here. Is Baron seriously a math professor at this academy? Or just some low-level lecturer? That sidekick he had earlier must be a student. I mean, the Baranda Empire Academy is basically the Ivy League of this world. Top tier. If Baron's actually tenured here, he's definitely rubbing shoulders with the upper crust of high society. Look at that poker face. I bet the faculty has zero clue they're employing a dangerous warlock with a double life. Speak of the devil. Baron rolls up, collapsing his umbrella. Apologies for the wait, he says, smooth as silk. Let's move. We trek across the soaked campus. Baron's got the umbrella, leaving me trailing in my raincoat. But something's off. Why is he bundled up in heavy layers like it's the Arctic in the middle of this humidity? I stare at his coat. Then it clicks. Dark arts. Astral projection. Messing with relics breaks your body. He's paying the price for violating nature's laws. That's why he's freezing to death. I freeze in my tracks. I decide to test him. Hey, I've read up on the occult. That book, The Silent Language, total trash, zero value. Baron stops dead. He doesn't flinch. You are correct, he replies, cool as ice while I keep my eyes glued to him. Silence hangs between us. I just checked the clue broom, Baron states flatly. Yase is safe at home. He reaches into his coat, flicks a scrap of paper into the downpour. Astral projection is handy, isn't it? Shame it only works on the weak and powerless. The paper hits the mud, the ink dissolves instantly, and the raindrops hitting it, they don't splash. They hover, transforming into shimmering pearl-like spheres. Baron turns around. I've cleared the area. No interruptions. His gaze hardens. 2 questions. He drills holes into me with his stare. Who are you, and what do you want? Speak. Cold sweat runs down my back. I stay silent. Baron snaps his fingers. Snap, and gravity just quits. The raindrops freeze midair. Silence, he sneers. Fine. I can interrogate your corpse just as easily. A massive glowing glyph ignites above our heads. It sucks in the rain, forming an impenetrable dome. A perfect barrier. I look up terrified as the magic circle expands until it engulfs the entire school block. Made up your mind, Baron warns. A rune burns into his right hand, ready to fire. But then, he freezes. A scent hits him. Thick fog erupts from where I'm standing. Baron's eyes widen. He knows this smell. It's the haze of the White Shore. He's shaking, gritting his teeth. He remembers sensing the outer god during the summoning. That was full power. The familiar he hunted was 10%. But this energy signature, it's somewhere in between. Stronger than a monster, but not quite the god itself. The spell circle shatters. The rain crashes down again. I apologize, Baron stammers, panic rising. I joined Hush Strike temporarily. I thought you were with the Anti-Magic Bureau. It was just a test. I didn't mean any harm. Hidden in the mist, I repeat his words back to him. You sensed the god simply because I shifted into this form. It all makes sense now. Every time I toggle these god powers, I'm leaking divine energy like a beacon. George, Anna, they all felt it. That's why Su Ling looked so terrified at the observatory. I deepen my voice, playing the part. I am the herald bound to serve the Great One. Tell me, why align yourself with Hush Strike? Baron drops to his knees. Only for the catastrophic class relic they promised. I intended to offer it as tribute to your magnificent god, he's shouting now, desperate. Even if I receive no divine knowledge, I beg of you, ask the Great One to look away from my daughter. Spare her. I close my eyes. Understood. The god has a new decree. Compile every scrap of intel on Hush Strike. Put it in the silent language. Baron hesitates. But why? My eyes flash with eldritch light. He flinches. He bows, his head defeated. It shall be done. I stride past him, leaving him shivering in the rain. He stands there, eyes closed, sweat mixing with rain. I'm sorry, old friend, he whispers into the void. Looks like I have to be a traitor again. He clenches his jaw. His pride is screaming, but his daughter comes first. He accepts his dark path. Cut to me sitting in a cafe, head in my hands. Just totally exhausted. Head down, staring at the table. Where the hell is George? He totally ghosted the coffee shop meetup. Chen's mind is racing. Hush Strike is plotting to wipe the board before the ritual kicks off. He needs to warn George stat. And then there's the Anna situation. Flashback to 2 days ago. Fresh from the academy, he didn't expect Anna to pull up on him late at night. The tea, the summoning is tonight. And that dark fruit she mentioned, total mystery. But while he's deep in the mental sauce, a brunette slides into the booth right in his face. Zero personal space. She starts venting about her bestie, hating her guts. I've got literally no one else to talk to, she whines. Chen flashes a polite customer service smile. If you're really best friends, just ask her out and clear the air. Real talk fixes drama every time. He drops a charm-heavy wink. Got a blast, though. You should probably hurry home. The girl blushes like an anime character clutching her heart. She thanks him and sprints off, totally crushing on him. Chen checks his screen. It is 10 minutes to midnight. Showtime is almost here. Midnight strikes. 12 a.m. Silence. No demonic portals. Chen frowns. Did things go sideways on Anna's end? Cut to the enemy side. 11:30 p.m. The church hall. The high priest Anna and 3 shady dudes in hoods are staring down a corpse. It is the doctor, dead as a doornail. The high priest demands answers. Who punched his ticket? A brunette priest, looking like he is about to hyperventilate, confirms the kill. He is gone for real. I saw it with my own eyes. Hush Strike took him out cold. The high priest glances at Anna. Ice water in her veins. She is just a kid, but she is not flinching. Impressive composure. The high priest goes full sermon mode. The Lord of Ashes has eyes on us. This power-up is going to make the Chaos Cult absolutely god-tier, stronger than ever. The nervous priest jumps on the hype train. 2 months ago, we witnessed the Lord's greatness. Tonight is the new era, baby. We are all getting a taste of that glory. The high priest winds up for his big finish but choke. The brunette priest grabs his throat, gurgling, eyes watering, blood geysers from his mouth. Panic in the pews. The guy drops like a sack of potatoes, dead on impact. The mob freaks out, swarming the body. What is happening? Then the whole building starts vibrating. Chill out, the high priest bellows. Do not lose it. The ritual is still a go. Hush Strike has no divine backup. We are going to crush them. Bam! The doors fly open. A sentry stumbles in screaming at the top of his lungs. Outside guards, wasted. Some are just gone. I can only ping about half the squad. And the enemy invisible. The priests start sweating bullets. Pure terror in the room. Now the high priest is losing his cool. Evacuation time. A hooded muscle man screams, "Get the boss out now." The security team is shouting, demanding the high priest move immediately. The high priest snaps into survival mode. Security detail. Get everyone clear of this place. Regroup at the north shore of the River Thames. Move it or lose it. He snatches Anna's wrist. You are with me, kid. School is in session. Lesson 1 starts tonight. Anna, eyes wide with innocent curiosity, asks, where are we headed? To find the divine messenger. Intense stare. Anna glances back at the entrance. It is pouring rain, but dead silent. The vibes are off. She senses something approaching. Suddenly, boom! The walls and roof just disintegrate. Blinding flash. Hurricane force winds. The blast ragdolls the priests across the room. Blackout. Anna's body glows in the void. She squeezes her eyes shut, feeling a hollow emptiness in her chest. Floating in the abyss. Is this the Lord of Ashes? Is she meeting the messenger? Snap back to reality. She is buried under rubble. Beaten up but breathing. Her enhanced body saved her, but the pain is real. Probably broke a few ribs. She flexes in arm agony. She has to bail. With a primal scream. She bench presses the concrete slab off her chest. She sits up and splat, a severed hand lands right on her arm. She flinched, staring at the carnage. Was that? The high priest's hand. Anna peered through the jagged gap in the shattered wall. I gotta get out of here. She bolted into the downpour, the mystic sigil branded on her back, searing like a hot iron. She'd let the burn lead the way. Behind her, a crimson gloom swallowed the ruins of the sanctuary. Agonized shrieks pierced the storm worshippers, begging for salvation, chanting praises to the Lord of Ashes as they burned. Anna didn't look back, sprinting toward the one place that might hold a divine messenger. Meanwhile, inside the cozy coffee shop, Shen leaned back, arms crossed. Is the anti-magic bureau mixed up in this mess? If they were, Anna was in deep trouble. He glanced at the door. He'd sworn she was here earlier when that knock came, but it was just some stray alley cat. The clock hit 3 in the morning. Staying up was pointless. George would probably drag himself in tomorrow anyway. If the bureau was involved, Shen needed to crash. Lights out. Outside, Anna stumbled to a halt. Soaked to the bone, she gasped. Finally, I'm here. Her legs gave out and she hit the pavement hard. I made it. But she wasn't alone. The Hush Strike squad had arrived. Cloaked in midnight blue robes, they materialized on the rooftop directly across from the shop. One brandished a sword engulfed in flames, locking eyes with Anna. Move it, sun's coming up, we're burning daylight. Anyone inside tries to play hero, consider it a declaration of war against Hush Strike. He pointed his blade at the shop. The script is written. Fate is sealed. No one defies the Almighty's will. Anna lay cold on the asphalt. A cat with piercing blue eyes padded over to her body, then glared up at the rooftop squad. Meow. The cat stuck its tongue out, a total mockery of their deadly vibe. One of the hooded killers faltered. His cheeks flushed pink. Oh my gosh, look at that bean, so cute. He violently shook his head. Focus, idiot, the mission comes first. No time for petting sessions. The squad leader radiated silent fury. The cat just stared back, unblinking. Those eyes, dead ringers for Su Ling's. Suddenly the shop door exploded with energy, a blinding mix of lightning haze and scorching fire. The raw power surged onto the street, flooding the pavement with supernatural dread. The cat hissed, bristling in terror. Up on the roof, the leader froze, the sheer weight of that aura, crushing his resolve. His eyes glazed over. As the fiery mist engulfed the street, the leader's hood slipped back, revealing a face pale with panic. Sweat poured down his face. Who runs this place? He screamed. This owner. He's a monster. I can smell it on him. The scent of two otherworldly gods clashing in one body. The pressure was suffocating. The squad trembled. Then the ground erupted with an even darker power. A titanic, blazing monstrosity clawed its way into reality, the seed of chaos. The assassins looked like insects next to this beast. They stood paralyzed on the roof, jaws dropped. Words failed them. One guy stuttered. What? What the hell is that thing? Heads were sprouting from its body like tumors, and the rain sizzled into steam before hitting the ground. It's the Lord of Ashes familiar, the seed of chaos. The leader snapped out of it. Scatter, run for your lives. One cultist scrambled for cover, glancing back. It's massive. It can't possibly move fast, right? Wrong. The beast blurred. Its cavernous maw snapped open, lunging straight for the leader. Chomp. The leader's scream was cut short by a geyser of blood. Another member watched in horror. It's too fast. Before he could blink, claws erupted from the darkness behind him. Splat. He was skewered blood, misting the air. Meanwhile, a third guy crouched in the shadows, smirking. It went for them. Suckers. Now's my chance to ghost. He barely twitched a muscle when the monster was instantly hovering right in his face. The smirk vanished. He couldn't even scream. Slash. Bisected. His top half slid cleanly off his bottom half. The last survivor pressed his back against a brick wall, shaking. Stay quiet. Just stay quiet. The heat spiked. The air grew heavy. He slowly turned his head toward the wall. Through a tiny crack in the bricks, a giant burning eye stared right back at him. Scrip lum. Silence followed the slaughter. The rain hammered down again, washing over Anna's unconscious form. With the squad liquidated, the beast stomped toward the girl. Anna's eyes snapped open. She looked up. Why is it burning up? She gasped, the heat becoming suffocating. Suddenly, a gaping maw loomed before her. She bolted upright, paralyzed by pure terror. Monster, her scream tore through the air. Scrambling backward in a panic, she crab-walked until her back slammed hard against the cold wall. Tears blurred her vision as the beast stalked closer, its body shuddering with a twisted sort of longing. Its gaze locked onto her, like a predator. Stay back, she thrust a hand out, desperate. Instantly, the air shimmered, a blinding golden aura erupted behind her back. Another halo of light materialized right on her raised palm. The creature froze, its jaw hanging slack. Time seemed to stop as the crimson sigil on Anna's back pulsed with light. Boom. The monster dissolved into a swirling inferno, crackling and roaring as the fire took hold. Rain hissed into steam instantly from the searing heat. The fiery mass shrank down and slammed into the pavement with a heavy thud. I did that, Anna stared, stunned. She could command the flame. Her mind raced to the legend of the Lord of Ashes, the entity dwelling in a dimension where golden fire devoured everything. A realm ignited during the hour of the apocalypse. 20 massive worlds had already been reduced to ash and void, an endless hungry inferno, burning until the end and beginning of time, the eternal flame of ruin. But then Twist the monster, still wrapped in fire, reformed. It started regenerating at a terrifying speed, flesh knitting together amidst the crackling blaze. It wasn't over. Just a little longer, Anna told herself, gritting her teeth. She couldn't give up now. If she held on, she could incinerate this thing for good. But as the beast stepped forward, her vision went black. She collapsed. Stomp. The creature's claw crushed the ground, snuffing out the mystical fire. Standing in the rain, looking down at her, the monster's thoughts shifted. So this is the Lord of Ashes' chosen one. It noted her injuries. She was vulnerable. A sitting duck, without protection. Poof. The terrifying beast shrank into a harmless blue-eyed cat. It glanced at Anna with indifference. Her fate. Not my problem. The cat strutted past her limp body and slipped into the coffee shop. Inside, Shen threw the door open, looking annoyed. What was that roar just now? He demanded. The cat just trotted toward him and let out a soft meow. Shen smirked. Yeah, that demonic sound definitely didn't come from this fuzzball. I'm checking outside, he muttered to himself. Sounded like a kaiju out here, he grumbled, stepping into the rain. Then he saw her. Anna unconscious against the pillar. Hey, panic surged. He rushed over, attacked. Just as I feared, the ritual went sideways. He grabbed her arm, checking her condition. It was bad. She was messed up. He scooped her up into his arms. Don't worry, I've got you. I'll save you. He carried her quickly inside. Hey, Furball, he called to the cat. There might be monsters nearby. If you see anything, scream your head off. Got it. The cat just squinted, totally unimpressed. Meanwhile, Shen started peeling off Anna's soaked clothes, chanting, I am doing this strictly to save her. Strictly medical. But as the layers came off, drip. Blood gushed from his nose and mouth. He was fighting a losing battle with his own hormones. Saving her. Just saving her. He sputtered through the blood. Suddenly he paused. Her wounds. They were knitting themselves back together. Cut to 10 in the morning. Anna sat on the bed, fresh casual clothes on, staring at the clock. Her mind replayed the night before, blacking out right in front of the Divine Messenger's cafe. She remembered waking up healed and clinging to Shen. He was bleeding from every facial orifice, yet he stood there like a rock. Cry all you want, he'd told her, ignoring his own blood loss. I can take it. I'm completely healed, she thought, swinging her legs off the bed. The Divine Messenger must have used his powers on me. She scanned a messy room. So this is how a cosmic entity lives, in human disguise. She walked out into the main cafe area. Shen was there, nursing his breakfast. She stood behind him. Thank you for saving me. Shen spun around, forcing a smile. You're up. Grab some food. But whoa, the dark circles under his eyes were massive. He looked like a walking corpse. Anna actually jumped back. Holy, are you even alive? Just pulled an all-nighter, Shen groaned, waving a hand. No big deal. She stepped closer. Even a divine messenger has limits. She realized she barely knew anything about this guy. Who are you really? She asked. Shen's gaze drifted away. He wasn't doing magic all night, he was on guard duty. He'd sat by the door, terrified the monster would come back for round 2. Staying alert like that, way harder than a late-night gaming marathon. At the crack of dawn, he'd sprinted to the library, digging into that clue about Baron. Once he confirmed it, he dropped a dime on Hush Strike to the Anti-Magic Bureau. Those guys act like a boring office, but they're the real deal. Even their own families think they push paper for a living. Perfect cover. Luckily, dropping George's name proved he wasn't just some drunk crackpot. Mission accomplished, he'd raced back to whip up breakfast for Anna. Shen was running on empty, feeling the crash hitting him hard right after the first bite of breakfast. Between chews, he nudged Ina to spill the tea on last night's chaos. Ina shot up like a soldier, hitting him with a stiff, understood. Shen rolled his eyes, telling her to chill out and just talk while she ate. As Ina broke down the events, Shen started sweating bullets, realizing the monster she was describing sounded suspiciously like that creepy artifact Baron had forced on him. He told her to pause a second. Ina clocked his ghost-white face immediately, asking if he was going to pass out. He waved her off, claiming he was solid, while internally screaming, wondering if that cursed object had actually vanished. Ina clenched her fists, locking eyes with the divine messenger, ready to get real about the cult. She had been through the ringer lately, and had been replaying the high priest's words on a loop. She realized the cult wasn't just black and white villains. It was messy, but she was still grinding to fix it from the inside. The hard truth. The cult had to exist, or the orphanage would go under. There were too many adults in the mix, and the politics were a nightmare, but she was drawing a hard line: absolutely zero living human sacrifices, and no more non-consensual surgeries. Looking at her feet, she admitted she didn't have the full picture yet, but she had done the math. Nothing was simple, and she knew she needed serious power and hustle to hit her goals. She figured time would fill in the blanks. Shen closed his eyes, processing. This girl had been through hell. Watching her, he realized she was just an uneducated kid on paper, but her level up was insane. Munching on his toast, he flashed back to his first summon, where she was just a sobbing mess on the floor. Round 2, she showed guts, and now she was thinking like a leader. Her emotional glow-up was god tier. His eyes snapped open, staring at her, wondering if this truly was the legendary Witch of Flesh and Blood. Cue the entrance of a blue-eyed cat. Ina's face lit up, blushing hard, squealing about the cute kitty. She dropped to the floor, getting face-to-face with it, asking for a name. Shen slid down next to her, stalled for a second, then improvised cola. The cat pulled a perfect innocent face as Shen told Ina to give it some love, claiming it was super chill, mostly because he needed a nap. Ina gently stroked the cat's ear, telling Shen to go recharge. Suddenly, the cat's mouth ripped open, morphing into a jagged eldritch nightmare. Ina lost all color, let out a blood-curdling scream, and scrambled back against the wall, shaking like a leaf. Shen, halfway to his room, froze at the sound. He peeked around the corner, asking if the furball had scratched her, or if she was bleeding. Ina, tears welling up, pointed a trembling finger at the cat, whimpering that it terrified her. Instantly, the cat snapped back to innocent mode, looking at Shen and meowing sweetly. Shen patted its head, cooing, "Good kitty," before rubbing its chin and whispering a dark threat if it scratched or bit her, he would turn it into a crispy snack. He announced he was crashing and told them to play nice. Ina's brain started racing. This was the divine messenger's pet, so he definitely knew what it was, meaning the monster probably wasn't hostile. The cat spun around and shot her a death glare. Ina panicked, screaming Shen's name. She scrambled up, latched onto his arm, and begged to go to his room. Shen turned beet red at the contact, stuttering that she could read some books in there. Meanwhile, in a shady alley near the cafe, George was walking with Su Ling. He sighed, convinced this man was pulling everyone's strings. Claiming it didn't matter if it was them, the cults, or the city, they were all just NPCs in his game. Su Ling, still snacking, told the old man to quit whining and asked what intel he left at the library. George closed his eyes, revealing it was the blueprint to completely wipe out Hush Strike from Veranda. He reminded her they were there to beg for Shen's help, and told her to inhale her food so they could go in. Su Ling asked if she could munch while entering. George, heading for the door, explained that bringing outside snacks was bad for business, and the owner would hate it. Moments later, inside the cafe, Su Ling was sweating over the menu, realizing they were going Dutch this time. The cat, perched on the table behind her, was locking eyes with George. George started sweating, nervously wondering what the cat's beef was, since he had never punted a cat in his life. Suddenly, the thing started hissing. Shen arrived with the coffee, asking if the library info was up to their standards. George dropped the bomb they were planning a raid tonight, but the enemy was OP, capable of rebuilding a cult overnight, and crazy enough to hit the Anti-Magic Bureau. They clearly had dirty tricks, and with the death rate looking sky high, they needed Shen as their ace. Shen sat down, looked them dead in the eye, and gave a hard pass. He demanded to know what George was smoking, because he had zero intention of dying today. A scorching inferno engulfed Shen's hand, the flames dancing dangerously as he lowered his arm, deciding it was time to put the fear of God into them. Wreathed in that blazing aura, his golden eyes burning with intensity, he stared daggers at the pair and dropped a truth bomb. "You humans are way too greedy." Su Ling froze, shaking like a leaf in a storm. George realized she was about to snap from the pressure, so he snatched her up by the collar like an unruly kitten. Hoisting her into the air, he muttered a quick apology for crossing the line and promised they were bouncing immediately. Furious Su Ling drove her fist right into George's gut. Shen let out a heavy sigh. She had nearly gutted him just then. Suddenly, Anna's head popped out from behind the wall. "Are the customers gone?" she chirped. Shen spun around, plastering on his best polite smile. "All clear," he lied smoothly, explaining that it wasn't exactly safe for her to be hanging around those types. He told her to lay low, reassuring her that the drama was over for today, and ordering her to stay put inside the coffee shop. Rising from his chair, a dark thought crossed his mind. Bodies were going to drop tonight. He could sense a puppet master pulling strings from the shadows. What a twisted game, he mused, finding the whole lethal situation strangely entertaining. Outside, the rain poured down like bullets, matching the chaotic brawl raging between the Hush Strike Squad and the Anti-Magic Bureau. The Bureau had stormed the Hush Strike turf in Buranda, turning the residential streets into a total kill zone with weapons clashing everywhere. It was anarchy. Agents were scrapping on the slick rooftops, while grunts traded blows in the mud below. One Hush Strike goon summoned magic knives, sneering at George. "Your little club is finished once I end you." But before the guy could even twitch, George swung his closed umbrella like a baseball bat. Crack. He flattened the guy instantly. George realized this wasn't just a random scuffle. This was a setup. They were waiting for them astral traps everywhere and summoned monsters on standby. Plus, all their investigators got jumped right after clocking out. He stepped forward, putting the puzzle pieces together in his head. 2 events, 1 conclusion. We've got a rat in the Bureau. Tapping his earpiece, he grilled his comms support. Standard astral projection caps at 2 hours max right. He needed to locate the sacrificial ritual site yesterday, or this whole situation was going south fast. Scanning the rainy sky, he wondered where Yale Varade was lurking, shocked he actually pulled that intel from the library archives. He never expected to run into him again in this mess. Suddenly, a grotesque insect monster lunged out of the darkness. Su Ling didn't flinch. She tapped the wall, then slashed her blade in a blur of steel, severing the beast's hand instantly. She stuck the landing, spun around, and her eyes started glowing with raw power. The monster shrieked and rushed her, but she was faster. Pointing her sword, she commanded drop. The creature slammed into the pavement like it weighed a ton, engulfed in a neon purple and blue magical field. Su Ling's eyes blazed as the monster's body detonated inside the energy cage. As the beast dissolved, the light faded. Su Ling grimaced. The cost of activating the Blade of Gaia was basically playing roulette with her bones. A sharp agony spiked in her ribs, probably a fracture, but she forced herself to keep moving. Suddenly, zap, a lightning bullet slammed into her chest. She didn't stop, barely registering the impact, knowing she had to push through. The shooter, a Hush Strike agent lurking by the wall, lowered his weapon. He looked confused, wondering why she wasn't dead on the floor. Su Ling stood tall, dusting herself off and explaining, "Perks of the Bureau Eldritch Blood Injection. It pushes the body to level 2. Your little toys can't hurt me." The man didn't talk. He just raised his longsword and charged. Su Ling sprinted to meet him. They ran past each other in a blur, swinging their blades with lethal intent. Steel clashed against steel with a deafening screech. They passed each other, backs turned. But Su Ling spun on her heel, launching into a mid-air strike at the guy's blind spot. He was too slow to turn. She slashed his arm open, gritting her teeth, her eyes burning with fury. She kept the pressure on, hacking away to finish him, when suddenly, the guy's body warped. A vile, gunky waxworm monster burst out of his mouth, total nightmare fuel. The monstrosity flopped onto the ground in front of her. She pointed her sword again, fall. The purple aura wrapped around it. But nothing happened. Not enough, Su Ling panic thought. Blood trickling from her lips, she screamed the command again with everything she had. Boom. A massive lightning bolt nuked the monster, obliterating it and shattering the concrete beneath. Smoke clearing, Su Ling clutched her shattered ribs. That was way too close. She whipped out a vial of K233 miracle blood for rapid healing and jammed it into her arm. Breathing heavy, she radioed, "George, problem handled. I'm clear." Path was clear. George shot her a knowing look, pointing out that even though they were partners, he knew she preferred the lone wolf playstyle, seeing as she ghosted him the second the battle popped off. Su Ling whipped around, cutting him dead. "I don't have time for your lectures," she snapped, insisting they hunt down the priest yesterday. George threw up a mock salute. "Aye aye, Captain Su Ling." Silently noting these rookies were trying way too hard to prove themselves, he stepped up, signaling the squad behind him. He addressed the team, thinking it was a damn shame Nolan's only S-tier hitter, Emery, was out of town on business. This raid would be a total cakewalk if that absolute beast was here to carry them. He realized Yale Varade was basically immortal, which meant there was only one win condition left on the table: finding an opening to unleash the second blade, absolute death. Meanwhile, inside the sanctuary, the priest clutched the faded cross, jagged shards of black crystal orbiting him like dark asteroids. He lounged on his throne, proclaiming that Buranda had become ground zero for a direct line to God. The Hush Strike cultists, decked out in matching blue hoods, stood like statues behind him, radiating creepy obedience. The priest ranted that the name would become everyone's name, and the voice would become the universal command. He rose, ascending a staircase of crackling lightning that materialized step by step beneath his feet. He started spouting titles, calling himself the Guide to Peace King of Praisers, the Eternal Peace Giver, Classic Savior Complex. Reaching the ceiling, he thrust the eternal faded cross upward, screaming prayers from the depths of his soul, begging for divine grace. Boom, blue lightning enveloped him, blasting him straight through the church roof, leaving him hovering in the storm rain, lashing against the eerie blue glow surrounding the cross. He prayed for eternal silence. Suddenly, a massive magic circle lit up the dark clouds and the entire anti-magic squad, except for George and Su Ling, dropped to the dirt, clutching their skulls in agony. George stared up at the swirling lightning, watching the sky tear open. It's starting, he gritted out. Only he and Su Ling were strong enough to tank the pressure and actually move. Then his eyes went wide. The sky wasn't just stormy, it was alive. Dark horrors started pouring out of the clouds like a nightmare. Meanwhile, at a chill coffee spot, Shen was passed out in a chair snoring away while his cat ignored him from a nearby table. Just a normal afternoon until, ping, notification, someone is summoning an other-dimensional god. Shen blinked out of existence instantly. The cat spun around to an empty chair, freaked out, let out a terrified meow, and bolted at full speed. Anna stood there frozen, asking the empty air if the divine messenger was still around. The vibe she got back. Run. Back in Biranda, the storm had turned into a deluge rain hammering the earth. The lightning circle expanded, covering the whole zone and raining down crystal shards like deadly hail. With the priest floating high above, George locked on. Gotcha, he muttered. The conditions to trigger the third blade were green. The weapon materialized in his grip, and he launched it straight at the target. Bullseye. The priest gasped as the steel punched through his chest, blood spraying from his mouth and the wound. But George cursed under his breath. That wasn't a kill shot. The range was too far to finish the job. The second blade absolute death was their ace, but it was a gamble, easy to miss, easier to parry. Su Ling gripped her sword ready to charge, but George yanked her back by her hair before she could suicide rush the enemy. Chill out, he barked. It's useless. We're too late. She started to snap back, furious, but then froze. Dead silence. George looked up. Shen had arrived, descending from the heavens like a literal deity, masked up and dressed like a dapper gentleman. George squinted. Was this the legendary Silence of the Striker? A skull mask. George wondered if this figure matched the lore described in the silent language. Meanwhile, Shen thought showtime. Then gravity hit. He gritted his teeth. Why wasn't he stopping? Panic mode set in. If I turn to mist before impact, I won't go splat. Suddenly, he stuck the landing on the magic circle. Safe. Before him, the priest knelt in total reverence on the lightning platform, clutching the cross and hailing Shen Guide to Peace, King of Praisers, provider of eternal peace. The priest offered up the eternal faded cross, begging this god to bless them with true eternal peace. Shen smirked internally. Astral projection totally fits these hush-strike weirdos brand. Then he recalled the rulebook. Every god grants their worshippers something unique. Let's see what happens. The striker stood as the symbol of the winter-blessed worshippers, promising not just peace but the eternal stillness of the void. But get this, the worshippers weren't chasing death. They were chasing a divine reboot from a god. Their goal, to be permanently numb, zero desire, zero emotion. Imagine an existence with no pain, no struggle, no rage, and no craving. But the trade-off, no joy, no hype, no love, just nothing. Shen couldn't wrap his head around it. What's the point of existing if you don't actually live? The priest stared up at him, his face twisted into a grotesque mask of desperate hope. To Shen, the guy was just another tragic mortal. He accepted the offering, his mind drifting to the mechanics of the Fade Cross. The logic was simple. Once he accepted a sacrifice while cosplaying as a god, the loot became his by default, finders keepers. But visually, the scene was intense. Shen and the priest stood inside a small spell circle, while a massive complex formation loomed overhead, slicing through the storm and keeping the rain from touching them. Then Shen dropped the bomb. As for the priest's wish, denied. The old man froze absolute shock, shattering his expression. Shen was already calculating his exit. He could shift into a haze, he just needed to keep his shields up until the summoning timer hit 0. Last time, a mere whiff of his scent made George back down. But right now, he was sitting dead center in a summoning ritual. His aura was nuclear. No one would dare cross him with this kind of power flowing. A grin spread across Shen's face as he clenched his fist, buzzing with adrenaline. Finally, he had the juice to shut these cultists down. His grin hardened into a scowl as he pressed his lips together. Hurt Anna, threaten the whole city, didn't matter. Shen wasn't giving this guy a crumb. The answer was a hard no. The priest stared up, pleading with his eyes, but Shen delivered the verdict. He was rejecting peace for him, forever. The priest's lips went white. Suddenly, deep wrinkles carved themselves into the priest's face. He started screaming why over 20 times, panic taking over. It was like fast-forwarding a lifetime. The priest withered into a skin-and-bones old man still screaming, while the spell circle beneath him began to flicker and die. The priest collapsed. Shen watched him drop, thinking, yeah, a fanatic like that definitely wasn't one of the good guys. Loot secured. Shen reached out, fingers grazing the freeze raindrop floating in front of him. He figured his time was almost up, so he decided to hang in the air for a few more seconds, soaking it in. Dead silence. Then the falling priest shrieked at the sky, begging the mighty god from another dimension not to ghost him, pleading for that blessing of eternal peace. Shen ignored the noise, clenching his fist as he scanned the hall below. He needed to know if every single cultist was trapped inside. Thank God they were. Time's up, he whispered. Peace out. The freeze raindrop hung suspended in the sky as Shen vanished, the giant spell circle dissolving into nothingness above. Down on the ground, George called it. The god has left the building. He thought about the hush strike and shook his head. They messed up. Big time. It was pure arrogance trying to hustle a dimensional god for eternal peace. What a joke. Talk about a shame. Suddenly, George's earpiece flared to life. He muttered that humans can only ever view gods through their own twisted lenses. He glanced up, listening to the city sounds returning. He tapped his comms. Target is gone. Begin the arrest. Now. Su Ling didn't hesitate. She bolted immediately to round up the others. George watched her go. That girl's got grit. He spun to his squad. Go back her up. I'm handling the priest solo. He's too volatile for you guys. His team sweating bullets didn't argue. They stayed silent as George walked away. Prowling the dark alley, George figured the priest had to be dead or wrecked after that magical backlash. He was just clearing corners. Suddenly there he was, the priest, leaning against the wall, staring right at him. George didn't flinch. Goodbye, old friend. He jammed the tip of his umbrella against the priest's chest. But tell me, you aren't Yale Verd, are you? George's mind raced. Was the intel from the coffee shop a total lie? Meanwhile, Shen materialized back in his shop, still decked out in the same ritual costume. He crouched down in front of his cat, Cola. Guess I'm just like you, furball. No sleep for the wicked. He scratched her chin, while Cola looked at him like, where the heck did you come from? Shen grinned. I know. I've been swamped. Kept forgetting about you. He promised to make it up to her soon. Cola lost it, purring, rubbing against him, letting out a soft mew. Shen scooped her up, heart melting. She's so clingy today. Gotta buy her the premium wet food. Just then, the door opened. Anna, divine messenger. She looked frantic. I have to leave. Soon. Her cult had tracked her down. They were demanding she return immediately. And the bombshell, the high priest, survived the attack. He claimed the cult needed her, that the children needed her. Shen stood there, clutching Cola, silence filling the room. Shen was fantasizing about finally crashing in his own bed, letting out a laugh as he playfully slapped Cola's leg. He casually mentioned Anna could crash for a few more days, but when she lit up with excitement, Shen instantly panicked. Dude only said that to be polite. Breaking into a nervous sweat, he averted his eyes, desperate to pivot. So, what's the game plan for the Chaos Cult? She didn't hesitate. I'm confronting the High Priest. We need a squad revolution, not just one person calling the shots. It's all about what the majority wants. Shen flashed a grin, nodding along. Now that's a solid vibe. He gave her the green light to return to base. Anna stepped up, getting emotional. Thanks for the save, and for looking out for me. Her expression tightened with resolve. Inner monologue activated. I'm gonna make the divine messenger famous worldwide. Everyone needs to witness his god-tier wisdom. A beat later, Shen yawned, totally drained. Alright, I'm cooked. Hitting the sheets. Out of nowhere, Clang the Fate Cross ricocheted off the wall, bounced and smack bullseyed Shen's toes. Shen let out a scream of pure rage. Behind him, Cola started sweating nervously as Shen snatched up the cursed artifact. I have zero clue how to use this thing. He needed to grind some supernatural lore, but the library's info was basically useless. Whatever, shelving that. Time to playtest his new abilities. He'd felt a weird shift when he returned. His left palm felt icy cool. Wait, brain blast. He slammed his fist on the desk. The coffee cup rattled and tipped over the edge. Shen's mind raced. Is this that same freeze frame glitch from the rain? Eyes locked on the falling cup, he shot his hand out. Freeze instantly, the mug hung, suspended in midair. Shen got hyped. It works, same power, but the effect was blink and you miss it fast. Meanwhile, Cola hissed, launching a full-on tackle. Shen whipped around, panic setting in. Yo, what the? Whatever mischief she was plotting, he shut it down instantly. Pointing a finger at Cola, he commanded freeze. The cat turned into a living statue, and Shen casually walked away. Momentum, however, doesn't care about magic. Cola slammed face first into the glass window. Bonk. As Shen turned to check on her, the cat sat there clutching her throbbing nose, eyes welling with tears. She shot him a glare, purely made of salt. Cola launched herself at him for round 2, but Shen just smirked. Up went the finger. Freeze. Stopped dead in midair, gravity took over, and she belly flopped onto the floor. Rinse and repeat. Every time she tried to pounce. Shen hit the pause button on her existence. Once the spell broke, physics did the rest. She'd careen into the floor, the wall, or faceplant against the window. But this spam casting had a cost. Shen's eyes began to flare with an eerie light and deep exhaustion lines etched themselves instantly onto his face. On the next attempt, Shen caught the frozen feline mid-spin. "Don't scuff my paint job," he muttered, spinning her around manually. She hit the deck with a heavy thud, bonked her head again, and let out a pathetic, watery meow. Shen slumped to the floor, rubbing her bumpy noggin. "Quit clowning around," he sighed. She ignored him, mewling pitifully, while staring fixatedly at his bookshelf. "I need to figure out how this mojo works," he grumbled. "Stop bothering me." It was time for a training montage. He turned his gaze to the books, firing off freeze rays. Testing, testing. Conclusion. The effect lasts exactly 5 seconds. Air unfreezable. Solid objects, fair game. But it's an all-or-nothing deal. He has to lock down the entire object. No freezing, just the pages. Aim is critical. It's strictly a left-hand trigger or it's a miss. Range is infinite. But line of sight is king, no obstacles allowed. And the cooldown is real. He has to wait for the first freeze to wear off before casting again. Multitasking is out one target at a time. By the end of the session, Shen was battered, sporting bruises on his own face from the chaotic experiments. He sat amidst a book, avalanche arms crossed, pouting like a child. Suddenly, the bell chimed. It was the advice lady, the regular who treated his cafe like a therapy clinic. She poked her head in. "Is the owner around?" Panic reflex kicked in. Shen whipped his left hand at her. Freeze, her expression locked in surprise. Shen scrambled up, fixed his messy hair, wiped the stress off his face, and reset his posture to cool barista mode before the spell broke. "Is something troubling you again?" he asked smoothly. The freeze lifted. What just happened?" she stammered, disoriented. Shen stood there, casually waving his left hand with a customer service smile. "Have a seat. Coffee's on the house." She nodded, still confused. 1 hour later, she rushed past him, eyes red from crying but spirit lifted. "Thanks for everything, I gotta run." Shen waved goodbye from his chair. As the door clicked shut, he rubbed his stiff neck. "Did she see me adjust my shirt while she was frozen?" he mused. "If the environment shifts instantly, anyone with half a brain would glitch out. It's risky." Meanwhile, Cola hopped onto the table, staring him down. Shen smirked. "At least you're sharp." The cat just glared back, nursing her swollen, bumpy cheeks. Just then, the door swung open. George and Su Ling stepped in. "Hey boss," George took the lead. "Mind if we celebrate a win here?" Shen flashed a relaxed smile. "Be my guest. But I can't hang around." George offered to buy drinks, but Su Ling was acting sketchy, clutching a bag of outside snacks. She shuffled forward, guilt written all over her face. She knew the no outside food rule, so Shen asked what went down this time. George pulled up a chair, sitting directly across from him. "Nothing gets past you, huh? I wanted to chat about Yale Verd." He leaned in. Shen raised a brow. "Do you have to sit so far away? Distance is safety," Shen quipped, looking away. "What's your poison?" Latte George replied. Su Ling, practically building a fort out of her snack bag on the table, squeaked, "I'm trying the new flavor. Breath coffee." Shen's eyes narrowed on the package. "And the snacks." She started sweating bullets. I'm not ordering snacks. Not hungry," she stammered. Shen hit her with the death stare. She froze, figuratively terrified and sweating profusely under his gaze. "Why? Why are you looking at me like that?" Shen stood up abruptly. "I'll get the coffee. Wait here." As he walked away, George whispered, "Told you not to bring food inside." Su Ling let out a soul-crushing sigh. Facing Mr. Shen is more draining than fighting cultists, George chuckled. "He let me take the first shot earlier," Su Ling mused. "Was he?" Handing me the credit, she wondered aloud. "You're a B-rank investigator now," George replied. "You want that A-rank badge. You need the reps. You just lack experience, so I'm letting you grind XP. "Thanks for that," she smiled. George studied her for a second. "So, how did it feel, slapping the cuffs on them?" "I heard everyone reacts differently to their first big arrest." She hesitated. "It reminded me of my father." George softened. "His crimes aren't your burden, kid. Don't carry that guilt." Despite saving a ton of victims, she refused to take any credit. With a face completely void of emotion, she shut the conversation down cold. George didn't push it. Right then, Chen slid in with the coffee, clinking the cups down on the table before sinking into the chair opposite them. "All right," he said. "It's briefing time." He locked eyes with George. "You ready to spill the tea on Yale Verd? My sources say he was the high priest of Hush Strike." George's eyelids grew heavy, and he let out a sigh. "Yale. He's a walking nightmare. Years ago, him, another sorcerer, and me, we were the original squad. We were obsessed with hunting down cursed relics across the globe. Me and the other guy were just rookies back then. But Yale, he was already over 100 years old, the undisputed leader. We were absolutely crushing it, bagging mysteries left and right. Within a few years, everyone in the underground knew our names." George paused, shutting his eyes again. "But we got greedy, wanted different things. So we split. His voice dropped an octave. Here's the thing about Yale Verd. On the surface, chill, stable, underneath, completely unhinged. He shifted his gaze to Chen. Out of all of us, he was the true psycho. Chen leaned in. Was he strong, like top-tier strong? George smirked, waving his hand dismissively. Strength is relative, but Yale. He was my mentor, my sensei. Taught me every lethal move I know. Su Ling, cheeks stuffed like a chipmunk with snacks, mumbled, "So is he OP or not?" George looked at her, genuinely shocked by her lack of survival instinct. "Listen to me. If you ever catch him alone, don't fight. Run." "Got it," she mumbled, swallowing her food. George wagged a finger. "Here's the kicker. You might not even know it's him. Guy's a shapeshifter, a chameleon. He could be standing right in front of us and we'd have zero clue." George leaned forward. "That's why I'm here. The priest we grabbed, not Yale. Did your intel flop, Chen?" Chen rubbed his chin, calculating. Baron worships his daughter. He wouldn't lie about something that puts her at risk. But he might not have the full picture. Chen's eyes narrowed. "There's a gap in the data. I missed something." Conclusion: Hush Strike's Baranda branch doesn't have one priest. It has two. "Makes sense," George nodded. "You always come through for us, Chen." He suddenly grabbed Su Ling's head and forced them both into a bow, physically showing his thanks. Chen frantically waved his hands. "Whoa, stop. No need for the formalities. We're homies." Later, the scene shifts to a gritty alleyway. George stopped walking. "Su Ling, heads up." He stepped in front of her, glancing back with a serious look. "I've got a private investigator running a trace, and the truth will come out. But until we identify the mole in our ranks, you need to watch your back." "Understood," she replied from behind him, unbothered. "Don't stress about me." She moved to walk past him, but noticed his hesitation. "You got something else to say?" George paused the silence, stretching before he finally spoke. "I know about your dad." She stiffened. "Do we seriously have to do this?" George blocked her path, standing tall. "Your father was a hero, a demon hunter. He only broke bad because he was desperate to save your mom. That's why he joined the cult. He wasn't a villain, Su Ling. He was a fallen hero twisted by temptation, who ended up hurting the world. And you." George's voice softened. "I know you've blown a fortune over the years, paying reparations to his victims, trying to fix his mess. Listen to me, it's enough. You've done enough. You are not your father. You're a victim in this mess too. You don't have to carry his sins, or pay for them forever." Su Ling stared at him, face blank, eyes piercing. "We've known each other for like what, 3 days? Stop acting like you understand me." Her voice dripped with annoyance. "Stop lecturing me like some boomer dad." She brushed past him, cold as ice. "We're partners, not friends. And we definitely aren't family." She marched off into the distance. George clutched his forehead, watching her go. "Damn it. Screwed that up, didn't I?" he muttered. "I knew I shouldn't have pushed it, but I can't help myself. Maybe it's better this way." Hours later, George sat alone in a dimly lit room, eyes glued to a nature documentary on TV. "I should have kept my mouth shut," he whispered to the empty air, "because only friends and family can be used as currency." He realized the Anti-Magic Bureau knew exactly what they were doing, pairing him with a young girl so he'd get attached. He picked up an old photo of Su Ling as a kid, sitting on the floor clutching a toy. "The second blade eats away at my lifespan," he murmured. "I can find a way to pay that debt. I can handle dying." His grip on the photo tightened. "But the first blade, every time I use it, the cost is a memory. I completely forget a friend or family member. Forever." White-knuckling the couch cushion, he dropped the bombshell he knew way too much, including the fact the guy had a wife and kids stashed away. Eyes glued to the static on the TV, he muttered that the link was totally severed. Gone. And nobody could undo that damage. Unless an interdimensional deity stepped in, not even an oracle could patch this up. It made him wonder if a heavyweight like Mr. Shen would even blink at a catastrophe-tier artifact. Maybe Shen had that one ride-or-die friend who was simply permanent. Suddenly static crackled in his earpiece. Intel acquired. George's spine snapped straight instantly. The voice on the comms dropped the reveal Yale Verd had been right under their noses the entire time. George cut the feed before they could finish. "Way ahead of you. Tell the squad, Yale Verd is right here, with me." And there he was. Yale Verd, blocking the TV's glow, his own eyes burning with an ominous light. Meanwhile, Shen and Cola's late-night coffee run took a dark turn. A hulking, zombie-looking nightmare shambled through the door. Its joints popped and cracked with every step. Shen and Cola froze, terror spiking. Shen quipped, "Judging by the vibe, I don't think he's here for a latte." The monster whipped around, exposing a face so horrific it made Cola gag. It was absolutely revolting. The beast unleashed a guttural roar, spewing a writhing tentacle straight from its maw. The appendage lashed out, aiming specifically for Shen. Just as the slime-covered tip inched from gouging out Shen's eyes, and was milliseconds away from burrowing into his skull, Shen dissolved. Poof. Just living mist and vapor. Materializing on a table behind the beast, Shen pointed a furious finger. "Freeze." The monster locked up instantly. But Shen knew the clock was ticking. He only had 5 seconds of control. He'd have to go mist mode the second that thing twitched. Suddenly, the beast lunged, rolling forward. Shen triggered the haze transformation ready to dodge. But then, total confusion. The attack stopped cold. The monster slumped against the wall, shivering and literally sobbing. Cola stood next to it, trembling just as hard. Shen loomed over them, still half-missed, claiming the beast was terrified of his divine aura. Then he snapped at Cola to quit being dramatic since the creature hadn't even laid a finger on her. The creature bowed its head in submission. Shen figured the puppet master must have cut the strings. Once they realized the hit failed, the audacity to attack him, insane. But now he worried were George and Su Ling next. Back with George, the interrogation was on. How did you dodge the employment protocols and the yearly psych evals? Yale smirked. Divine intervention. I was blessed by the striker over 1,000 years ago. George narrowed his eyes. If you're that powerful, you could have ghosted. Why come here? For a trip down memory lane? Yale waved it off, recalling an old question. Remember when I asked why you wanted to be a grinder investigator? When the pay implies zero benefits, you told me people don't always do what they want. They do what's necessary. I realized we're cut from the same cloth. It's a drag, sure, but I can't chill while I'm still breathing. Yale grinned and activated a twisted rank relic, kill shot target. He explained it was a magnet for any projectile or flying weapon, basically rendering George's arsenal useless. George shrugged off the handicap. I don't mind fighting barehanded, but comparing me to you, that I hate. George blurred into motion, dashing past Yale. He slashed his blade, mind racing. He knew Yale's type. There was definitely an ambush waiting outside. Staying put was suicide. George vaulted off the terrace, plummeting toward the street. Mid-air, he spotted them. Blue-hooded robes, the Hush Strike squad charging up a massive spell circle. Called it, George thought. He gripped his blade tight and deployed his umbrella behind him as a shield. The cultists triggered the circle, blasting a tsunami of lightning magic straight at him. George snapped the umbrella forward just in time. Boom! The lightning detonated against the shield. He stuck the landing and immediately sprinted, tearing through their ranks, blade swinging. One caster screamed, "Take him down," while charging another bolt. George shot him a glare that could kill, then flashed past, cutting him down in a single stroke. He spun his weapon, weaving through the mob like a whirlwind of steel. No time to play, he told himself. He had to move. But then Yale touched down. Holding a blade crackling with lightning magic, Yale declared, "Nowhere to run, George." George's eyes went wide. He was cornered. Yale ran a finger along the cold steel of his blade, flashing a twisted grin as he towered over George. He dropped the bomb. He was there to end George's life. And letting him walk away wasn't on the menu. George clapped back, saying he didn't see the issue with just letting him slide. Yale shut his eyes tight while George kept staring daggers at him. Suddenly, Yale snapped, screaming at the top of his lungs that Baron had stabbed him in the back. He claimed Baron was the biggest red flag from day one, the only guy sketchy enough to survive the chaos. According to him, Baron held a disaster-class relic and manipulated Yale into the scheme with a singular promise, resurrecting his dead daughter. Yale explained that Baron needed a heavyweight sorcerer to wipe Baranda off the map. Hearing this, George started sweating buckets, totally rattled. Why was Yale broadcasting this? Did he want the Anti-Magic Bureau to tune into their frequency? Yale confessed his original play was to smoke Baron right after the ritual, but the guy beat him to the punch. Then Yale dropped a hard truth. It looked like Baron didn't give a damn about bringing his daughter back after all. George threw a hand up, cutting him off. No way. Impossible. Baron worshipped that little girl. Yale's eyes began to glow with a demonic light. He smirked at George, suggesting that maybe, just maybe, Baron never trusted him. Or maybe he just saw him as trash. In a split second, Yale blurred into motion, launching a high-speed blade assault straight at George. George tapped his comms, screaming for Anna. He needed backup fast. He told her to pass a message to Su Ling, kill the vendetta. Tell her to quit the bureau, go ghost, live like a normal civilian, and just focus on school. Hearing the desperate plea, Yale slashed his blade through the air, mocking George. Was he drafting his last will and testament? He sneered that George didn't want his partner repeating his tragic history. George fired his weapon to deflect the strike, barely dodging the lethal blow. As his blade boomeranged back to his grip, George admitted the grim reality: A-rank investigators never get a happy ending. Yale smiled, his eyes rolling back in ecstasy. George was spot on. Then Yale triggered the trap, summoning a massive array of spell circles. His entire army materialized behind him, every soldier armed with even more magic circles. George stood dead silent, facing down the horde. Meanwhile, back at the coffee spot, Shen nursed his brew, unable to catch a wink of sleep. Too much drama lately. His mind drifted to the girl who'd left in tears, trying to piece together her exact words. It felt like something he used to care about, but the memory was fuzzy, slipping through his fingers. He looked around his shop, watching the flow of customers making small talk. Business was mid, not booming, not dead, just average. He wondered if this low-key vibe was the life he'd been chasing all along. Now the only crystal-clear memories were of his summoning. This weird world had become his reality, his home. He cracked a smile. Maybe it was for the best. He'd built a real squad here, with Anna, George, Su Ling, and Baron. Humans crave connection. Without this crew, he'd be drowning in loneliness. Just then, Su Ling walked in, head hanging low, radiating gloom. Shen locked eyes with her and said her name. He asked if George was with her. Su Ling dropped the hammer. He's gone. Shen froze, his world shattering. Su Ling slumped into the chair opposite him. Shen stared into nothingness, his eyes losing their light thinking. He'd always looked out for Anna since day one, but they weren't tight like that. His real friends, the regulars, the people who made his shop their second home, like the old guy who was always hanging out, just killing time. He thought about George, the guy who broke his back working for this city, and now he was dead. Shen stood up asking about the hit. Su Ling's lips trembled as she confirmed the nightmare. She swore she'd do whatever it took as long as she didn't have to sell her soul. Shen exploded, a terrifying aura erupting around him. "Someone help me avenge him," he roared, fists clenched tight. The air grew heavy with a monstrous, suffocating power as he declared war. Su Ling watched him, cold sweat running down her face. Shen turned to her, eyes glowing crimson with rage. "Tell me everything," he commanded. "Don't leave out a single detail." Meanwhile, over at Baranda's Thames port, dark clouds choked the sky, though the storm had broken a while ago. A figure stood there, waving a hand at the horizon. He noted the rain had stopped. This was the sea without light, that's what they called the oceans here. The further you got from land, the more the sunlight died, until the water was swallowed by total abyssal darkness. He mused that the only way to survive in this hellscape was to stay in the city. At least there. Someone was putting their life on the line to keep people safe. 1 hour ago, back at the cafe, Su Ling had laid out the map. Cross the glass plank road, breach the high walls, and head 10 miles southeast. That path leads straight to Baranda's Thames port, a major hub where ships constantly flow through the river. Under the cover of pitch-black darkness near the coast, the intel dropped. Yale murdered George in the burbs. Now he is beelining for the docks. The Anti-Magic Bureau is already mobilizing. Yale is running out of road. Escape is not just hard, it is looking impossible. Even if Shen sits this one out, she needs a guarantee. 0 chance of escape. Total checkmate. Replaying those words, Shen shifts forms. His body dissolves into living smoke. Yale is not going anywhere, he vows. The dark mist surges forward, creeping along the pavement like a predator. Then Shen, drenched in that suffocating aura, strides into the night. He is leaking the divine scent of the god on purpose, baiting the hook. Yale will not be able to resist, if the target is actually at the harbor. Meanwhile, cut to Yale. He is cornered in a dingy room, sweat dripping down his face, head thrown back in panic. Psyching himself up. He has to flee Nolan immediately. He needs to go off-grid in a foreign land for years, maybe 20, maybe more. If the Corona Church is hunting him, luxury is over. He is looking at a life of squalor just to survive. He waves it off with a manic laugh, reminding himself that he is not human anymore. 100 years ago, he evolved into something superior. As the Striker's servant, he snagged the ultimate perk, unlimited lifespan. Immortality is his birthright. All he has to do is lay low, suddenly sniff. That scent. It is the Striker. He spins around, eyes blazing with rage, screaming that the source is nearby. He hunts down the trail, tracking the aura all the way to an abandoned warehouse. "Found you!" He bursts in. There is a figure standing in the shadows, back turned. "Took you long enough," the stranger says. The figure pivots. It is George, or rather, Shen, wearing George's face like a mask. "I have been waiting for you, Yale." Shen's voice drips with mockery. Yale stares at his victim's face, teeth grinding so hard they might crack, and demands to know if it is really George. Suddenly, pitch-black energy erupts from the figure, melting the disguise away. The illusion shatters, revealing Shen's true form. He flashes a chilling smile. "You know exactly who I am. I am the messenger of the Striker, and I lured you here for one reason." Shen waves a dismissive hand at Yale Verd. "To tell you that your eternal peace is a fantasy." Yale roars, "Who are you to decide my fate?" But before the words fully leave his mouth, Shen blurs, moving at god-tier speed. Instantly, Shen is behind him, close but not quite there yet. Yale's eyes widen. He did not even see him move. Blink, Shen is in front of him again. "Make your choice, Yale." The pressure is crushing. Yale is drenched in cold sweat, stammering about what choice he has. Shen grins like a devil. "Sacrifice your soul. Clock is ticking, and your enemies are at the door." With that ominous warning, Shen dissolves into a flaming aura and blasts out of the warehouse, soaring over the rooftop. Down below, the O-ranked investigator Ollie and his Anti-Magic Bureau squad are sprinting toward the scene. Ollie is pushing the pace, stunned. The scent of an other-dimensional god is here. It is impossible. Is this a trap? A summoning? Before they can analyze it, the team skids to a halt, staring upward. The sky tears open. A massive lightning spell circle crackles with raw power, illuminating the darkness. Floating beneath the electric storm is Yale. An agent points up, screaming, "Target spotted, it is Yale." Yale lands, face twisted into a maniacal grin. "You are too late, fools. I am about to grasp eternity." He throws his arms wide, preaching to the agents. "You should all be chasing true peace like me, but you are too tied down by your pathetic mortal lives." Suddenly, a voice cuts through the chaos from above. "Yale." It is Shen. He is hovering in the sky, decked out in his signature mask and gentleman's suit. The bureau agents freeze. Panic spreads. "The striker, the god is here." Shen just looks down, smiling behind the mask. Perfect, Shen thinks. Step 1. Lure Yale to the warehouse. Check. Step 2. Bring the feds to scare Yale into a corner. Force him to risk everything and summon the god one last time. Now for the finale, absolute despair. Yale drops to his knees on the glowing seal. "O guider to peace, king of praisers, provider of eternity." He offers up his very essence. Screaming from the bottom of his soul eyes, locked on Shen with pure desperation. "Grant peace to those who crave it, please." Shen stares down coldly. "Eternal peace, no. I refuse to give you that blessing. But I will definitely take that offering." Yale's face goes pale. Shock hits him just as lightning erupts from his skin. A halo of electricity rips out of him. His skin shrivels, hair turns white, and the light leaves his eyes. He is aging decades in seconds. Now a withered old man, Yale, croaks out, "You, the divine messenger, you lied." Shen just reaches out a hand, and Yale's soul, condensed into pure lightning orbs, flies straight into Shen's palm. He absorbs the power. Rest easy, George, Shen thinks. Debt paid. In a blink, the magic circles dissolve and Shen vanishes into thin air, leaving Ollie staring at the empty sky. It looked like the god had bailed, vanishing into thin air. But then, boom. From the pitch-black sky, Yale plummeted like a meteor, smashing straight through the roof, sending shingles flying. He didn't stop there. Gravity dragged him down through the wreckage, until he slammed into the floor. A massive slab of the ceiling followed, crushing him. The ground splintered under the impact, leaving Yale pinned like a bug under the debris. Ollie loomed over the wreckage, asking if Yale finally found that eternal peace he was so desperate for. An anti-magic agent stared at Yale's withered, rapidly aged corpse, eyes bulging, tears welling up, jaw on the floor. He definitely didn't find peace," the agent stammered. Flashback to the day George bit the dust. Chen slid a mysterious note to Su Ling with an address scribbled on it. "Go here. Find a guy named Baron," he commanded. "Tell him 2 things, silent language and a request from the haze. He might just be able to bring George back." Su Ling's brain short-circuited. Resurrection. That's forbidden magic. Only a literal god from another dimension could pull that off. And yet this guy tossed the idea around like he was ordering lunch. She stared at him, skepticism written all over her face. Chen caught her vibe. "Why the pale face? You scared or just don't want to get your hands dirty?" Su Ling spiraled. Resurrection was a capital crime in the eyes of the Corona Church and the Bureau. For an investigator, crossing that line was treason, right up there with summoning an eldritch horror. She clenched her fist until her knuckles turned white. Her expression went blank. This didn't violate her moral code. Letting an injustice slide was the real crime. She looked up, determination in her eyes. "I'll find Baron. We're bringing George back." Chen nodded, impressed. "Just so you know," she added, "I can't promise Baron will pull it off, but I won't let Yale walk away." Cut to the cemetery. Somber vibes. The entire anti-magic squad, including the big boss minister, gathered around an open grave, piling up white flower bouquets. A senior official stood by the pit holding a holy text, chanting prayers to the first fire. "May the flame purge the filth from body and soul. Let them find truth. Let them find joy." He rambled on about the blessed kingdom and finding bliss in the holy realm, babbling about love from the light and the gods. Hard cut back to the coffee shop. Chen asked Su Ling if she wanted a brew. "Hit me," she said. He slid a steaming cup across the counter. New recipe. Tweaked it for a sweeter palate. As the hot liquid hit her tongue, her eyes practically sparkled. She downed the scalding cup in one massive gulp. Chen nearly dropped a glass. "Do all you investigators have mouths made of asbestos?" She licked her lips, flipping the cup upside down. "Delicious." Chen grinned. "Glad you dig it." She slammed the cup down. "So, about that meeting. Only rank B and up were invited. We covered 2 huge updates." She held up a finger. Number 1. Gods are popping up in Baranda like weeds. HQ is recalling every S-rank and A-rank agent back to the city immediately. Number 2. It's about you. She leaned in. "The Bureau has officially taken you off the hit list. They want to play nice. Friendly relations only." Chen closed his eyes, a smug smile playing on his lips. Su Ling giggled. "Also, since I'm taking over George's beat, I get his perks." Chen raised an eyebrow. "Perks? You mean expensing your personal snack tab to the government?" Su Ling froze, busted. She darted her eyes away. I meant I'd be maintaining friendly relations, just like George." Suddenly she tapped her cheek. "Oh, almost forgot. The minister dropped a bomb. From now on, the whole world is watching." People from Nolan, folks from the second continent, they're all flocking to Veranda, hunting for divine power. The secret's out. Everyone knows the gods are here. Chen crossed his arms unfazed. Got it. Then his tone shifted. So, how's George Suling's face went blank? The air got heavy. She clenched her fist, pouting a little. He said, he can't visit right now. He needs time. He's handling business that an official investigator can't touch. Chen smiled softly. Understood. Plot twist. The next day, George is standing on a rooftop right next to Baron. Alive. You actually contacted an outer god, George asked, staring at his hands. Why risk jail time? To bring me back. Aren't you scared of the Bureau coming for you, Baron? Just laughed. We're old pals, George. Call it being sentimental. Now, the ball's in your court. George walked to the edge of the roof, spreading his arms wide. The ultimate choice, swear loyalty to the dark god who saved him, or rat them all out to the Bureau, which basically meant punching a one-way ticket for Baron and his daughter. He couldn't help but wonder, was this a suicide pact for him too? George raised an eyebrow, asking if Baron really needed to be that extra about it. Baron just jabbed a thumb at his own chest, declaring he loved the drama. Then he busted out laughing, admitting they were riding the same sinking ship now, with zero exit strategy. Their only play, go underground, and restart life in this dimension. George observed the change in him, resurrecting his daughter, had clearly brought the guy some serious joy. So he offered to snap a quick photo for the memories. Baron screamed at him to cut it out. Meanwhile, back at the cafe, Suling was visibly salty, scoffing that the lazy old geezer must be on cloud nine. He used to whine about the grind 24/7, and now he was living the unemployment dream. Shen chuckled, countering that George wasn't quite the waste of space she imagined. Suling admitted that, sure, George actually acted like a professional whenever he was around Shen. Checking the time, Shen announced he had to bounce work called, but told her to swing by again soon. Moments later, prowling down an alley, Suling couldn't shake a weird vibe about that guy. It felt like everything was playing out exactly according to his script, and that every move, every person's destiny felt wired to him like they were just pawns on his personal chessboard, including the Anti-Magic Bureau, the Chaos Cult, and Hush Strike. Suddenly, a searing light erupted from Suling's stomach. She doubled over, clutching her gut as it burned like fire. Panic setting in, she scrambled away, desperate to find a secluded spot. She slammed against a wall in the empty alleyway, tore open her shirt buttons, and stared down at the angry red brand on her skin, questioning if this was actually a mark or something worse. Fast forward a few days, and business was booming. At Shen's coffee joint, he was running the floor solo, a one-man army serving a wave of customers. Just as he promised a regular, their brew would be up in a sec. A familiar face popped up, the woman who'd asked for advice before. She waved, letting him know she was back for round two. Shen gestured for her to grab a seat. Later, chilling in his room, he jotted notes in his journal. The Hush Strike fiasco was officially 2 months in the rearview. He reflected on how the weather had been absolute perfection lately, which did wonders for foot traffic. Finally, he wasn't broke anymore. Tossing the Yale Soul lightning ball casually in the air, he smirked. At this rate, he'd need to hire a barista. No way could he handle this skyrocketing demand alone. His grip tightened around the crackling sphere. Ever since that last summoning trip, his time freeze capability had leveled up, adding a solid 10 seconds to the clock. He admitted to himself that back in his poverty days, he'd seriously considered abusing that power just to make a quick buck. As he squeezed harder, the ball expanded, unleashing a halo of electric current that rippled outward. It reminded him of Suling's intel. The Anti-Magic Bureau usually turned a blind eye to petty crimes, but he wasn't risking his rep on a gamble that they wouldn't flip the script on him. Suddenly, Shen's irises ignited with light, and a swirling blue aura enveloped his entire frame. The scene snapped to a memory of Yale preaching to his squad while clutching the floating Fade cross. Yale broke it down. Anyone rocking this cross on their body unlocked a god-tier shield. Not a physical barricade, but a conceptual barrier deleting all harm, curses, poisons. Spells, even diseases were null and void. But power like that has a price tag. The user would start hearing whispers and creepy voices gnawing at their mind until they spiraled into total unhinged madness. Snap back to the present, where Shen was still holding the lightning ball, though the electric aura had faded. He stared at the artifact, musing that it was basically a magical web browser loaded with 100 years of history. For a guy like him, with zero formal education in the supernatural arts, downloading this dude's memories was worth way more than some dusty relic. He grinned, appreciating Yale's utility. The Shadow Mask, the Ring of Luck, the Eternal Rust Cross. Shen knew what they did and what they cost. But Yale, he never paid the toll. He spammed those relics like toys, likely a perk of being a literal deity from another dimension. Shen went back to scribbling in his notebook, noting that Yale's memory banks were packed with astral projection drills. Apparently, even a total normie could learn the basics. But Shen hadn't been able to crack the code. He'd attempted a bunch of ritual spells right there in the shop. And nothing. Zero results. He let out a frustrated sigh, wondering if he was just talentless trash. Suddenly, a deep rumble shook the room. A voice echoed from the void, chanting about the earth welcoming the world. Of the faceless kingdom, the stun of the colorless town, and the wielder of the ever-changing blade. Hearing the summons, Shen stood up and grabbed the face mask from the rack. The disembodied voice droned on, demanding the door be unsealed, pleading for acceptance, and promising to unleash true power. The mask slipped from Shen's fingers, clattering to the floor. He realized instantly it's starting again. The shadow mask lifted into the air, spinning violently around him. Standing in the eye of a hurricane, Shen realizes this isn't just a town, it's a massive kingdom, straight out of the source of God's lore. An endless sprawl of cities with zero horizon line governed by the god of Dimension 22. The symbol of the blade. Rumor has it any land this deity touches faces the exact same brutal game over screen. This god doesn't do blessings. Instead, he gears up every newbie in town with weapons and forces them into a deathmatch. Shen pulls a tiny knife from his pocket, staring at it. Seriously, how is he supposed to survive with this starter-level trash? Trapped in this infinite map, figuring out his survival odds, Shen suddenly spawns into the colorless world. He freezes in front of a massive structure. Is that the Baden Empire Academy? But the second, his fingers brush the wall. The reality glitches, rippling like disturbed water before morphing into a town. He stands before the colorless house, mind racing. It's super trippy seeing a building ripped from his own memories. What is this colorless town actually? He strokes his chin, analyzing the vibe. Someone is waiting for him in the library. Instinct kicks in. Dark smoke erupts around him, swapping his skin for something more lethal. Doesn't matter what's waiting, he's checking it out. Mask on, suit, crisp cane in hand, surrounded by shadowy fog. Shen smirks as he strides forward. Gotta admit, the Chaos Cult knows how to make some high-tier sacrificial loot. Prowling through the colorless library, Shen mutters that the target should be close. Suddenly, a figure floats into view. It's a woman hovering in midair. Shen stares. Silver white hair. Crimson eyes, pale skin. She looks exactly like a glow-up version of Anna, but the voice, totally different. The woman drifts down to the floor, bows elegantly, and introduces herself as the Oracle Girl, the one who woke up and summoned him to this sanctuary that welcomes everyone. She shoots him a playful wink. Hi there. Shen actually blushes, eyes rolling back in panic. What do you want? He stammers. She drops the lore. The light chaser wants a blade from her, but she swore an oath never to hand her stuff to mortals. Her workaround, she wants a blade from him to give the light chaser. In exchange, she'll hook him up with a reward. Shen nervously asks what the payout is. The lady grins, points a finger at him, and drops the punchline. A blade. She asks what he was expecting. Shen admits, yeah, figured as much. He stares at her, realizing something wild. This is the first time anyone has summoned him, and dared to talk to him this casually. Is she even human? Or is she straight up a succubus? While he's spiraling in his head, she asks if the reward feels a little light. If so, she adds, she'll throw in a spoiler about the future. But Shen is skeptical about this whole prophecy thing. The lady shuts her eyes. I am the Oracle after all. She summons a glass orb hovering over her palm. First up, she announces, I present the ever-changing blade. Shen nods. Deal. I accept. She tosses the orb. It glides through the air, and Shen snatches it. Looks like a simple silver glass ball. She leans in close. So where's mine? Shen flushes red, smiling awkwardly. Right, handing it over now. The locked blade flies out of Shen's pocket on its own, drifting straight toward the lady. She catches, it winks, and says thanks. Shen replies, you're welcome, while his brain screams, definitely a succubus. Deal done. She turns to leave, dropping the intel. The light chaser is hitting Miranda soon. He's hunting the god imposter, and he's ready to die to take that person out. Shen pauses. The god imposter. The guy faking divinity. Is that unforgivable to a believer? Is someone coming for me? She glances back at him. Here is the future I promised, she says. The god imposter is going to fail. Hard. I see his defeat clearly. He will succeed. He will win. He will hurt his enemies. He'll turn night into day. She looks up through the glass ceiling. And then he will fall from the sky. At the peak of his victory, his destruction will be live-streamed to the world. Countless eyes watching. Not a trace left behind. Total deletion. She turns back. You know who I'm talking about, right? Shen looks confused. What kind of riddle is that? Can't you just speak plain English? Suddenly, that same gray tornado starts swirling around him. He stands in the vortex, looking up. Okay, something massive is going down. As the wind roars, the Oracle's backstory downloads into his brain. 1,000 years ago, in a golden age, humanity got lost in greed. The kingdom raided everyone, becoming a superpower. The king's army was undefeated until a cult broke the seal on the Oracle Girl. They revealed her at the Capitol Plaza for all to see. Long silver hair, red eyes. She was mesmerizing. Everyone, men, women, kids, fell instantly obsessively in love with her. The crowd was a ticking time bomb of anxiety. The Oracle Girl took center stage at the Capitol Plaza, addressing the masses of the kingdom. She announced that the timeline of their future was about to be unspooled. Then she dropped a bombshell that rattled their souls. With a chilling smile, she unleashed a prophecy soaked in doom. She declared the kingdom was slated for total erasure. Every man, woman, child, and elder would face a tragic, violent end. Shock instantly morphed into blinding rage. The mob wasn't buying it. They screamed for blood, ready to hang her, burn her at the stake, drain her veins, and take her head. But just as the violence peaked, she vanished into thin air, leaving nothing behind but that cursed forecast. She was gone without a trace. Several decades flew by. The kingdom remained an unstoppable golden empire. Their military juggernaut dominated everything. On the second largest continent, they were untouchable until their own ego got too big for the room. They got greedy, craving VIP status even in the afterlife. So they summoned an extra-dimensional god. Big mistake. That was the beginning of the end. The entire empire was deleted in a heartbeat. All that swagger evaporated, leaving nothing but a haunting silence. The first oracle, the source, the prophet of prophecies, that's the legend the people whispered about. Her trademark look, flowing silver-white hair and piercing crimson eyes. Every medium, sorcerer and fortune-teller out there carries her DNA. They are all direct descendants of the OG oracle. Suddenly, the Yale soul ball warps Shen straight into Yale's secret workshop. Shen is looking around like, yo, why am I here? He figures this has to be the private stash. His loot goblin brain activates there must be tons of high-tier items here, to flip for cash later. He decides to investigate that after. Back in his room, clutching the Yale soul ball, he connects the dots. Anna has to be a descendant. He crushes the ball, confirmation secured. He clears his throat, ready to see what else is on the menu. But then the soul ball flares with bluish light, and boom, Shen is staring at a silver glass orb, sitting on the table right in front of him. He identifies it, the ever-changing blade, a disaster-class relic. It morphs based on the user's imagination. It's insanely OP, but the price tag, you lose a body part. Shen starts sweating bullets, listing the gruesome options. Maybe a finger, an ear, a patch of skin, or even an organ. And it's permanent. No healing magic can fix it. That is the ultimate horror story for a cost. He grips the silver orb, eyes closed, grinning like he won the lottery. He's been desperate for some offensive firepower. This is his survival tool. And the best part, the nasty side effects of his other relics don't apply to him. So this should be a free ride too. He squeezes the ball tight and yells, transform. Dark silver smoke explodes from his hand, swirling around him like a cloak. When it clears, Shen is decked out in a sharp suit and hat holding a cane, topped with the silver orb and wreathed in smoke. A cane, he muses. Part weapon, part fashion statement. Perfect for a gentleman like me. He gives the cane a smooth twirl, solid weight to it. 2. Just as predicted, 0 penalty. From here on out, he's going to spam these items to the max. He realizes a pattern every time he powers up. It links back to that extra-dimensional god. He wonders what loot Colorless Town holds. He's got attack covered, so he needs to tank up. Defense is the priority. 30 minutes later, Shen is straining, eyes shut, wondering where the power is, because he feels absolutely nothing. Frustrated, he heads to the door, grabbing the handle, muttering about needing coffee. Not sleeping till I crack this code. He grips the lock and snap. It crumbles. He stares at the broken hardware in his hand. Did I just, or is this door made of cardboard? He wonders if he's trapped, or if the door is just trash. He tries to nudge it with his foot. Crash. The whole thing caves in. Open up. He pauses. He barely put any effort into that kick. Is super strength the new upgrade? Or did his body fundamentally change? That explains why the cane felt so heavy earlier. Maybe it wasn't just the cane. He looks at the wreckage. Great. How much is this going to cost me? Defeated, he slumps into a chair at the coffee shop, clutching a knife. There go my savings, he sighs. But he has a theory. It can't just be a strength buff. My durability has to be leveled up too. He places the knife against his palm. Only one way to find out. He slices his hand and blood sprays everywhere. Suddenly, a lady walks in, sees him bleeding and thinks, is he self-harming? What a freak. But in her mind's eye, the reality is warped. She sees a demonic entity with glowing red eyes and a serpent tongue lapping up his own blood and cackling maniacally. She freezes, wondering if all high-tier beings are this twisted. She is absolutely terrified, sweat pouring down her face. Shen was fighting a losing battle against internal agony, practically screaming inside when he clocked the visitor. He choked back the pain and asked if she was a customer, motioning for her to take a load off. The woman, looking absolutely petrified, just nodded in silent agreement. Shen mentioned he was grabbing a cup for himself and asked for her order. But through her terror-tinted lens, Shen didn't look hospitable. He looked like a demon, his voice a guttural growl, demanding to know her deepest desires. Her eyes practically rolled back in her head as she collapsed into the chair, barely managing to squeak out cold brew. Shen closed his eyes to mask his own pain, then pivoted. You sure, not something hot instead? He had noticed she was drenched, shivering from the downpour. He rubbed his chin, analyzing the situation. Even in this nasty storm, she showed up and kept her manners in check. That level of discipline she had to be from the inner circle. His mind flashed back to Su Ling, remembering how that girl could chug boiling hot coffee like it was ice water. So a cold drink after a rainstorm was probably nothing to these superhumans. He stood up, flashing a smile meant to be friendly. Relax, don't be so stiff. You're a guest here. Let me grab you a towel. The lady stared at the floor, thanking him quietly while panicking that she was muddying up his shop. Her mind spiraled back to the dark rumors the owner didn't just kill. He inflicted eternal torment. Even death offered no escape from his clutches. It was pure nightmare fuel. Shen gripped a mug from the shelf, mentally screaming at himself. Easy, big guy. He didn't know his own strength. And the budget couldn't handle buying more mugs. Moving with surgical precision, he brought the cup over, sliding it toward her. Here you go, beautiful lady. Her hand trembled violently as she reached for the ceramic, stammering a thank you. She stared into the black liquid, completely lost. Based on the stories, this mysterious shopkeeper was playing 4D chess with everyone. She took a nervous sip, convinced that he ruthlessly pulled the strings of anyone desperate enough to beg. He was a monster who savored the world's joy and suffering alike, appearing only at the bitter end to harvest ultimate despair, toying with souls, before plunging them into everlasting agony. She glanced up at Shen, thinking, this guy is completely twisted. Shen watched her shake. Weird, he thought. She's the one who ordered the iced drink. But in her head, she was thinking about how he single-handedly wiped out Hush Strike. Back in Miranda, the Anti-Magic Bureau had made it crystal clear, do not poke this bear. She fought back, tears terrified to the bone. This man is a horror show, she thought. Meanwhile, Shen broke the silence. So, you gonna tell me why you're here? She flinched, looking at him with pure fear, then forced a weak smile. You already know, don't you? I run turmeric flower. I am an ender. Shen nodded slowly. Right. Internally, he was pulling up Su Ling's crash course. Enders were basically bottom-tier supernatural mercenaries, the grunts of the circle who ran errands for the investigators at the Anti-Magic Bureau. Su Ling despised them. One agency tried to butter her up with a luxury whip right outside her academy, which made her classmates assume she had a sugar daddy. Su Ling was so triggered she almost went full slasher movie on them right there. Back in the present, the lady dropped the intel. A shadow group called Hidden Irises had surfaced in Miranda. They called themselves the Observers. These creeps would pop up out of nowhere, watching and recording global incidents but never lifting a finger. People thought they were suspicious but harmless weirdos. Until 2 days ago. Someone from Hidden Iris snapped and went on a rampage. They started slaughtering Inner Circle members, specifically wiping out her entire agency in a senseless bloodbath. They are mysterious and overwhelmingly powerful, she explained, voice shaking. I want revenge. Please help me. She squeezed her eyes shut. I'm willing to give you everything. She stood up, putting herself on display, assuming he could be as perverted as he wanted. Shen just blinked, totally confused. What are you doing? Her brain short-circuited. Does he only get off on self-harm? Is he seriously ignoring my hot body? Shen admitted the offer was tempting, but honestly, staying alive was priority number one. The lady flushed red, humiliated, while Shen added, Look, I don't want to get too involved. Not my circus, not my monkeys. I understand, she whispered, defeat washing over her. She stood to leave. Wait, Shen called out. There's an umbrella by the door. Take it. Just bring it back later. She nodded, grabbing the handle. Stepping out into the pouring rain, a realization hit her. I still have a shot. This was clearly a hint. He wouldn't lend a shop item, unless he was open to forming a connection. She smirked in the rain. If he didn't want my body, he must want something else. She needed bait, something that would actually hook him. Her eyes snapped open and she mused aloud. Unfurling her umbrella with a snap, did the owner dig? The innocent girly vibe? Nah. She figured a mature queen, like herself, was definitely the flavor of the month. Meanwhile, Shen was fuming behind the counter. Apparently dine and dash was the new trend, and his wallet was feeling the burn. He glared at the ring on his finger, his last resort. The ring of luck. A double-edged sword, miracles by day, misery by night. But it wasn't instant. It needed 3 solid knocks to activate. He'd roll the dice tomorrow. If not, paying for that bedroom door repair would literally bankrupt him. The next day, dead silence. Shen leaned on his palm, bored out of his mind. 2 customers. 2 regulars. So much for the magic ring. He side-eyed the brunette lady, noticing she was radiating pure do-not-disturb energy. Note to self, steer clear unless she engages first. Then the middle-aged regular approached. Magnificent, he declared. Shen started to thank him, but the guy wasn't done. He pointed a finger, voice rising with passion. The acidity, it dances. It's playful, it unlocks the bright notes. Without it, dead water. Bland, soulless, no depth. Shen flushed, letting out a nervous laugh. Guess I just got lucky. It matches your palate. The man slid an envelope across the counter. I was planning to invest in you. Before he could finish, Shen snatched the envelope. Luck, who said luck? This is pure blood, sweat, and skill, baby. The man chuckled. Good. It's rare I find a spot worth saving. And I won't let this place fold. Then he dropped the bomb. My master, Lord Felix, is dining with Sir Frederick next week, so I'll be absent. Shen froze. Sir Frederick, the mega philanthropist, he needed to take this seriously. Like yesterday, he was already hyping up the next visit. The man left with a wave, but that night, Shen stared at the ceiling. Did Mr. Jonas actually drop that investment, or was he hallucinating? He could breathe easy for a bit. He wanted that billionaire lifestyle but figured that was only happening in dreamland. Eyelids grew heavy, and he drifted off, straight into the nightmare. The haze, the massive tunnels stabbing the earth, cracked walls. He wandered through the fog, calling out for Anna. But as he moved, a voice cut through the silence. Prayers of doom, endless bad omens. And the white haze villain. Shen's eyes lit up. Could it be? It was her, Anna, sitting in a dark circle chanting to the destroyer of worlds, and the Lord of Ashes, summoning him. Shen grinned, walked right up and playfully squished her cheeks together, while she kept chanting with her eyes shut. Looking at her, he realized she'd grown up a bit. She looked, oddly, like that succubus now. Suddenly, Anna's eyes snapped open. The mighty Lord of Ashes gazes upon me. Shen let go, frowning. Her eyes were dead, total NPC energy. He waved a hand in front of her face. Nothing. I sense your approach, she finally droned. Shen sighed. Great. The connection has serious lag. High ping in the dream realm. He paused. What do you desire? Anna looked buffered for a second, reminding him of the dial-up internet days before answering. I seek wisdom from the Lord of Ashes. What do you know? Of the hidden iris. Apparently, the investigation team had proof. This mysterious group was trying to summon an interdimensional god at Veranda. Shen smirked. That's it. He was expecting an apocalypse-level threat, but Anna continued. During prep, there was an accident. Members went insane, started slaughtering people in the inner circle, though they ignored outsiders. As the mist faded, Shen pondered the mechanics. He puffed out his chest, crossed his arms, and put on his expert face. Clearly, it's the prep work. For astral projection. Standard occult jargon. He had to maintain the image. He wasn't the same guy who fumbled Yale's soul ball anymore. Suddenly, Anna's voice spiked with panic. Even the cult members were almost wiped out. Shen patted her head, trying to look comforting, but internally he was roasting the connection speed. Seriously, astral communication running on 2G. Totally oblivious to the lag, Anna turned to the mighty Lord of Ashes. Boss, what's the play? Do we go on the offensive and hit the hidden iris first? Shen's brain went into overdrive. The hidden iris. Were those fanatics trying to farm materials to summon an extra-dimensional god? He narrowed his eyes, running a quick mental check. That god. The vibes were definitely off. Super sus. A deity that binges on history and devours the past. Yeah, hard pass. Shen decided to play the mysterious sensei card. Let time take its course. Fate will drop the answers right in your lap. Cue the dramatic exit. The tunnel started dissolving into a creeping white mist. Aina nodded, soaking up the cryptic wisdom like a sponge. Understood. Shen closed his eyes, hiding a satisfied smirk. Meeting in dreams was the ultimate cheat code, totally safe, zero risk. Or so he thought. Suddenly, a voice ripped through the void. Controller of everything. Overflowing with the world. Shen's eyes snapped open. Excuse me. Wait, did I not log out yet? The white fog thickened and the voice kept spamming titles. Enemy of the Ashes. Haze of the White Shore. Shen looked up, scanning the surroundings. Was he standing in the Haze's home turf now? The summoning kept coming, relentless. Shen shrugged. Fine. He stepped forward into the mist. It's a dream, right? Can't get hurt in a lucid dream. He followed the smoke and found Baron on his knees, praying like his life depended on it. Shen stared. Yep, that was Baron. He rubbed his chin, flashing back to what George said. Apparently the guy had leveled up his energy recently, ever since his daughter got that resurrection upgrade. Shen stepped closer, looming over him. Let's see this new vibe check. Eyes shut tight, Baron spoke to the entity he thought was a god. I need guidance on the Salians. They want me to join the lightless dust. I pledged my soul to you. Can I really join another crew? Shen kept his poker-faced lips pressed in a flat line. Inside, he was screaming. Who on earth are the Salians? He vaguely recalled some ancient kingdom on the second continent, like thousands of years ancient. Are these their descendants? And lightless dust? Never heard of that guild. He let out a mental sigh. Whatever. If Baron wants a side hustle, who is Shen, to stop him? Go for it. The dream cut to black. Snap back to reality. Shen was lying in his own bed. Am I actually back this time? He reached under his pillow and grabbed his phone. 4 a.m. Brutal. Since sleep was a lost cause, he decided to do a deep dive wiki session. He grabbed Yale's Soul Lightning Ball, basically a magical search engine, and sat up. The info downloaded instantly. Most noble of the Franks. The Salians. The name stuck. Apparently the Franks were a major race on the second continent back in the day. Typical aristocrat aesthetic, pale skin, hair in gold, silver, or brown, and piercing blue eyes. The Salians were the top-tier noble house, supposedly wiped out millennia ago. But plot twist, the royal bloodline survived. And they were arrogant, like next-level snobs. Commoners couldn't even talk to them without struggling. Shen absorbed the lore. A mysterious ancient royal family coming out of the woodwork. Interesting. Next query, lightless dust. Turns out it's the most OP secretive sorcerer organization in the world, based on the second continent. They've got a roster stacked with elite sorcerers. They've been around for thousands of years, but their endgame, total mystery. Shen opened his eyes. He nuzzled the orb against his cheek like a pet. You're a lifesaver, little guy. Definitely keeping you in the inventory. Cut to the next morning at the coffee shop. Su Ling was locked in an intense staring contest with the cat on the table. Su Ling hyped herself up. I'm not scared of you, the cat hissed back. Challenge accepted. Then Shen walked in. Whack. He smacked the cat's head from behind. Knock it off. Don't hiss at the paying customers. A cartoonish bump rose on the cat's head. Su Ling giggled while the kitty fumed. Shen cut to the chase. So what's up? I need a favor, she said, voice dropping. An old man in the slums died suddenly. I found traces of astral projection magic. He was a good soul. Gave candy to the slum kids. I literally just saw him a few days ago. Shen raised a brow. You want to hunt down the killer? Yes. She sighed. Our fortune teller is out of commission, and the rest of the squad is tied up with the hidden iris case. I'm flying solo here, so I came to you. Shen's mind lit up. Bingo. Keyword hidden iris. Time to improvise. He waved a hand dismissively, channeling pure arrogance. Hidden iris. Those pathetic lunatics. What's your take on them? Su Ling gasped internally. He knows. This man really pulls the strings from the shadows. She felt chosen. The Anti-Magic Bureau just deployed an A-rank investigator. They're launching a full-scale purge on the cult. The mystical seal on Su Ling's midriff flared to life, burning with ominous energy. Her voice dropped to a whisper. It's confirmed. They actually deployed an A-rank investigator. The Anti-Magic Bureau had officially flagged the Hidden Iris as a full-blown cult. But get this, their intel showed the group started innocent enough. Just a circle of regular scholars, history geeks, and supernatural fanboys lurking on the fringes, desperate to peek behind the magical curtain. But once they banded together, snap. One by one, they descended into total psychosis. Shen just closed his eyes, completely unfazed. Old news. I already knew that. Here's the trade Shen cut in setting his terms. I need you to dig up everything on the Light Chaser and the God Imposter. Su Ling froze, visibly rattled by those specific titles. But Shen didn't give her time to process. He just nodded and pointed to the exit. You heard me. Now get out. Later that night, the alleyway outside the cafe was drowning in shadows. Christine, that mysterious customer from earlier, sagged against the brick wall, exhaustion etched into her face. It's gonna catch up, she whispered to the dark. Any second now. Meanwhile, inside the warm glow of the shop, the espresso machine hissed. But as Shen brewed a fresh cup, his mind wasn't on the coffee, it was fixated on the light. Chaser, the God Imposter, the Hidden Iris, the Salians, lightless dust, and the dead old man from the slums. Su Ling warned that a catalyst had set this chaos in motion. Suddenly, dark miasma erupts from Shen's body, shifting him into his divine messenger persona, drip-check dapper, suit cane in hand, and a mask concealing his face. He declares that infinite threads tangle into what we call inevitable fate. As the shadows swirl around him, Shen stands tall, convinced that coincidences are a myth. He smirks, hyping himself up, thinking, damn, I look good. He slides the ring of luck off his finger. Today's been a bust, and honestly, a twisted rank relic just isn't cutting it for him. He pouts, wondering where all the rich summoners are. Why isn't anyone sacrificing gold, silver, or actual loot to him? He exits the cafe, noting he's totally open to personal checks too. Stepping into the dark alley, the scene shifts to Christine. She stares desperately at a syringe, terrified, wondering if she can survive this. By injecting the last vial of that strange K155 blood, she knows she has to move fast, because something is hunting her. Suddenly the shakes hit and her vision goes completely blurry. A beast lunges from the shadows behind her. She whips around, heart sinking, thinking it's already game over. The monster roars in her face. Christine freezes, remembering that just 2 of these nightmares nearly massacred her entire agency. She almost got help from that guy in the coffee shop. Just then, a piece of paper burns bright in her pocket. The beast strikes, but Shen intercepts, swinging his cane with casual grace and smacking the monster, scoring an instant kill. He wonders if he went too hard, disappointed by how squishy the mob was. Vibe check passed. He thinks he is absolute fire right now. Christine stares up at Shen, recognizing the shop owner. How did he just one-shot a twisted rank monster like it was nothing? She pegs his power level at disaster rank minimum. Then her eyes bug out in sheer terror, seeing past the disguise to the skeleton form beneath a god's messenger, rhythmically tapping his cane on the asphalt. She feels microscopic, crushed by the aura of an other-dimensional deity, shaking uncontrollably. She asks herself if this guy is a divine envoy before her legs give out and she hits the pavement. Is he human? Or some superior breed of familiar? Meanwhile, Shen is sweating bullets, wondering if he overdid the entrance. It was just a trash mob. Does boasting about it make him look cringe? He figures no one can keep their cool while smelling the scent of a god, except for that one succubus. He switches to gentleman mode, greeting her with a polite Miss Christine. She stammers a reply. She hands him the glowing paper. It's the medical formula for dream sight, a tribute she prepared. She begs him to assist her and avenge her fallen squad, promising to lead him straight to the hidden iris's secret base, their lair. Sounds like a plan, Shen smirks. He notes that the monster from earlier was basically rabid. Stronger than a human, sure, but light work for someone like him. Christine stands and injects the serum. Shen declares it's time to go crash their party. Walking down the alley, Christine flashes back to the 10 colleagues. She lost the laughs, the tears, the dreams, the families, all shredded by monsters in a heartbeat. Now, only 3 members of Turmeric Flower remain. 1 retired to a normal life, and the last one is distant and beautiful. Christine never thought the agency's dark prophecy would get real. Seeing her zone out, Shen asks if she's good. I'm fine, she lies, sighing deep. Time to lock in and move forward. She glances at Shen, thinking, she needs to keep this VIP happy. Is it too much to kneel and swear eternal loyalty? Or just call him master out of the blue? She feels the formula is a weak bribe, that she's done too little, that she's useless. What else can she bring to the table? Her life savings, millions of yuan. They stop on a bridge overlooking the river. Is this the spot? Shen asks. Yes, she confirms. The lair is underwater, a repurposed secret agency safe house. The hidden iris started as nerds, scholars, history buffs, and supernatural fanboys. It was just a research club. But something changed. They suddenly gained powers and rebranded themselves as the Observers. They cataloged global nightmares until their sanity snapped, mutating them into literal beasts. Shen dropped a theory. It sounded like an outer god, or some cursed artifact had scrambled their brains. Christine flashed a thumbs up, totally fangirling over his genius, thinking he was the wisest guy she'd ever met. Shen awkwardly thanked her, but pleaded, please don't call me wise. Admitting it gave him the creeps. Christine pouted, panicking that her attempt at hype had totally backfired. He stepped up, signaling her to fall back. Watch this. He ignited a blazing aura, reasoning that since the lair was submerged, a little elemental test was in order. She stood behind him, eyes glued to the scene, as raw fiery energy exploded from his frame, leaving her absolutely shook. But instead of an attack, Shen shot the fire straight into the river. It didn't fizzle. It dove in, popped back up, and bobbed on the surface like a buoy. There's a mechanism down there, Shen analyzed. Right on cue, a switch floated up. Bingo, he thought. Found it, he announced coolly. The trigger's underwater. Christine, eyes watering with pure terror, realized his residual energy alone was off the charts. Definitely disastrous rank material. She stared, paralyzed. Scared you? Shen asked, noticing the vibe shift. He smirked internally, realizing this was the first time someone had actually tweaked out over his aura. Christine forced a nervous smile. I'm good. Let's roll, Shen commanded. He eyed the aquatic switch already triggered. It's open. You're sharp, Christine added, trying to recover. They pushed forward into a subterranean cavern beneath the river. Suddenly, Christine reached into her shirt. Gotta grab something, she mumbled. Whoa, Shen yelled, caught off guard. Where were you hiding that? She pulled out the item, shrugging. Strategic storage. It's accessible, and safer close to the chest. She'd found it. In her hands, she cradled a golden artifact that pulsed with light. Closing her eyes, she channeled the legendary Origin Fire. Shen stood by, his mind flashing through the lore Origin Fire, the top-tier deity of the second continent. The god of noon and radiance, commanding a massive cult of 10 billion followers. Christine raised her hand, summoning a mini-sun of gold and orange, chanting praises to the light. She held the golden lightning ball out to Shen, practically fishing for a compliment. Shen nodded. Solid work, he said, signaling them to move. But his senses spiked, red eyes glowing in the darkness. A split second later, a beast lunged. Shen didn't flinch. He deleted it with a single cane strike. Instant kill. Monster gore splattered Christine's face. He's too OP, she thought, stunned by his power. She quickly jumped in front of Shen and blasted green lightning to clear the path. What are you doing? Shen asked, confused. She turned, pointing to the now spotless tunnel. Cleaning up, Shen realized she was trying way too hard to impress him. Good job, he sighed, urging them on. As they trekked through the zone, littered with monster corpses, Shen mentally yawned. Trash mobs. Too easy. But to Christine, watching Shen mow down enemies with a walking stick, he looked absolutely savage. They pressed deeper into the cave. The golden lightning ball hovered along like a drone lighting their way. Christine glanced at Shen. You figured out the hidden iris clues instantly, she marveled. Shen just smiled, strutting forward. Mind drifting to the colorless town, that dormant deity from another dimension. Gotta stay chill to keep the powers flowing, he reminded himself. Finally, they hit a massive barrier. Is this an astral projection shield? Shen mused, eyeing the invisible glass wall, blocking their path. Christine peered at it. It looks like a giant aquarium, she whispered. Creeped out. Who uses astral magic for this? It's twisted. Shen, stroking his chin, went full detective mode. So, the Hidden Iris members, former Surface World fanboys, turned gods. Did they really ascend without the inner circle's help? Christine nodded. Exactly. Shen closed his eyes. They built a base under the Thames, sealed with high-level astral magic to hold back the river. This isn't amateur hour, Christine gasped. Are you saying someone in the Hidden Iris is actually an inner circle agent? Sharp Shen grinned. That's exactly what I'm saying. Inside, he was celebrating. 2 months of grinding knowledge from Yale's Soul Ball had finally paid off. Time to flex. Let's keep moving, he commanded, pushing forward. As they navigated the gloom, Christine addressed him strictly by his title, shopkeeper. Shen didn't utter a word. Suddenly, the darkness ahead stared back. Countless glowing red eyes pierced through the shadows. Instinct took over. Shen threw his arm out, shielding Christine. Back up, now. She didn't argue, scrambling backward in a panic. A guttural roar shook the air as the beasts charged. Christine, tears welling up, screamed in terror. Why are they staring at me like I'm dinner? Shen's gaze locked onto the floating ball of yellow lightning. The light, he barked. Toss it to me. Like moths to a flame, the monsters were fixated on the glow. Christine nodded frantically and launched the orb toward him just as a beast lunged for the kill. Clang Shen manifested a shimmering blue barrier. The monster smashed face first into the shield and bounced off. A smirk played on Shen's lips as he gripped the cross. With the eternal rust cross in hand, he felt untouchable. Absolute invincibility coursed through his veins. In a fluid motion, the rust cross morphed, elongating into a razor-sharp whip. Shen lashed out the weapon, singing through the air and slicing the monsters apart with lethal precision. 3 strikes, 3 kills. Shen surveyed the carnage. Gross, he muttered. Behind him, the sound of retching filled the air. Christine couldn't handle the gore. Shen stood amidst the slaughter, fighting back his own urge to hurl as he looked at the grime and shattered debris surrounding them. Once you're done emptying your stomach, he said flatly, clean this mess up. Christine wiped her mouth and summoned her green lightning magic. She got to work immediately, desperate to prove her worth. I have to be useful, she told herself. Shen watched her scrub the area, his expression unreadable. His lips quirked downward in a frown. Must be nice, he thought, genuinely jealous of mages who could casually toss around astral projection spells. He let out a heavy sigh. If only he could scam her into working at his coffee shop part-time. But that was a pipe dream. His daily experiments with divine power and supernatural entities came with a nasty side effect. Anyone hanging around him too long would literally lose their mind. Shopkeeper Christine's voice broke his train of thought. She was holding up a tattered notebook she'd unearthed. What is it? He asked. She handed it over, eyes wide. Found this in a hidden compartment behind a desk. Looks like heavy reading. Nice find, Shen said, impressed. Christine beamed, dutifully opening the book and holding it up so he could read hands-free. I'll be your bookstand, she chirped. It's fine, really, Shen replied, scanning the handwritten pages. The ink told a disturbing story. It spoke of a savior named Mr. White, a miracle who had given them new purpose. The writer claimed they were just fans, powerless nobodies who would never have survived reality without him. To them, Mr. White was the peak of nobility. The text worshipped him as a being of pure generosity, 50% righteousness, 50% infinite wisdom. That was the birth of the Hidden Iris. Mr. White, styling himself as the miracle, became their messiah. He fed them forbidden arcane knowledge, the real deal. The entry described a miracle performed just the night before. With a simple snap of his fingers, a massive labyrinth materialized underground. He even defied physics using gravity to keep the River Thames from flooding it. After that display, the followers were gifted supernatural abilities. Christine continued reading aloud, her voice trembling slightly. Per Mr. White's orders, we are gathering the necessary components to summon the god. The writer then described their own deteriorating health. They felt strange, sick. The body was rejecting normal food, vegetables, and fruits induced instant nausea. The writer tried to rationalize the horror. Christine looked up from the page, her expression serious. This guy's body was mutating, she noted, but he convinced himself it was just a phase. The journal claimed Mr. White assured them it was part of the process. The collection was nearly complete. The entry mentioned a new recruit, a blind boy, not even 10 years old, gifted with future sight. The writer speculated that Mr. White should lead the ritual because something unknown was calling out to him. It was a hive mind mentality. Everyone in the Hidden Iris felt the pull. Doubting Mr. White was simply not an option. Shen absorbed the information. So this miracle Mr. White is the puppet master behind the Hidden Iris, he concluded. Was he the White of Miracle? What was his endgame? Why collect these specific items? And what exactly was he trying to unleash? That's where it stops, Christine said, snapping the notebook shut. End of the line. Got it, Shen nodded. Good job on the reading. Your voice acting was actually spot on. Christine's face turned a shade of pink. Oh, thank you, she stammered. Shen smiled internally. Compliments were clearly the way to handle her. Christine pointed an accusing finger at the book. Though honestly, the guy who wrote this had zero common sense. I can't believe they thought summoning an interdimensional god was just a casual Tuesday activity, she scoffed. Even surface world fanboys know that's a massive taboo. And calling physical mutations normal, that's straight up delusion. You nailed it, Shen agreed. See if there's any other loot lying around. On it, leave it to me, Christine shouted, her energy restored as she dashed off to rummage through the piles of junk. A few minutes later, she trudged back, shoulders slumped and looking exhausted. She shook her head, nothing. The place had been picked clean, someone beat them to the loot. But the notebook, safely tucked away in a secret stash, which is the only reason it survived the raid. Shen reassured her. You did good. Then he dropped the big ask he needed her on the team. She was nodding like a bobblehead, totally vibing with the idea. I'd be honored, Shen pursed his lips, suppressing a smirk. Way too easy, he thought. A couple of nice words and she's practically wagging her tail. Gullible much. Meanwhile, Christine was having a full-blown internal crisis. Should she take a knee, swear a blood oath? She was freaking out, mentally screaming praises to the fire of origin. She couldn't believe she actually impressed a VIP like him. Then, her brain spiraled. Wait, is he gonna make her kneel and call him master every single time? That would be major cringe. But hey, she'd totally do it if she had to. Breaking her train of thought, Shen laid out the mission: investigate a suspicious death. Some old guy who slung candy near the slums just kicked the bucket under weird circumstances. Christine snapped to attention, throwing up a salute. Consider it done. She told herself she had to nail this. Her magic tank might be running on fumes, but her ender connections were solid. All this required was dropping a cool 200,000 euros. Suddenly, boom, an explosion rocked the dark entrance behind them, and a massive wall of water came rushing in. Shen whipped around, shouting over the roar, "It's a trap. The White of Miracles left a parting gift." He glanced at the terrified Christine. He could easily shift into haze form and slip through the dirt cracks, but that would leave her to drown. He gripped the rust cross. It was the only play. He chucked it at her. Catch. She fumbled it. Instead of catching it, the cross slammed right into her chest and stuck there. The floodwaters were seconds away. Shen forced himself to stay cool. The colorless city's power buffs defense, he reasoned. As the world instantly desaturated, the rushing water turned gray and froze midair. Christine's eyes went wide with shock. Cut to dry land. Christine was out cold on the sand, while Shen hovered nearby, still in his smoky haze form. He solidified back into a human, cracking a grin. Who needs a dryer when you can just phase the water out of your clothes? Ultimate life hack, he mused. But that rust cross high maintenance. Keeping it equipped for more than 30 minutes costs a fortune. He looked down at the glowing artifact buried in Christine's chest. Why is that thing still stuck? He reached out to yank it free just as her eyes fluttered open. Realizing his hand placement, she turned beet red and squeezed her eyes shut. While Shen popped the cross out, he shoved it in his pocket and gave a nervous cough. Oh good, you're finally awake. She sat up, flustered. Did I wake up at a weird time? Shen shouted back. What is wrong with your brain? I'm fine. Really, she stammered, thanking him for the save. Shen waved her off. Get going. And watch your back. Someone might already be targeting you. She nodded, grave expression returning. Understood. As she walked away, Shen watched her go. Hope she doesn't get herself killed. Suddenly, the ground started trembling, and blue lightning crackled across the dirt. The white haze emerged. He noticed Christine kept walking. She couldn't sense a thing. Here we go again, he thought, being summoned. It wasn't even 12 yet, but the timing felt intentional. Shen morphed into his Baron persona and took a seat inside the spell circle, bathed in that electric blue glow, manifesting in Baron's office hall. He closed his eyes. Yup, it's Baron. He glanced at the assistant nearby, the same girl who passes out every time she sees him. That's some serious loyalty to Baron. Actually, the assistant was whispering to Baron, totally shook. Is that really a god from another dimension? It is, Baron confirmed, cool as ice. Increase the offering. She nodded, terrified but obedient. Meanwhile, the real Baron took a knee, praying to the controller of everything. He was thinking back to the Corona Church's teachings. Before the Big Bang, the fire of origin nuked the water of spirituality, vaporizing it. And that cataclysm created the universe. They say the first humans were born from that vaporized, white haze. True or not, the water of spirituality was legit, powerful stuff. Baron was convinced it could craft a genuine soul. He floated a small vial of the liquid toward Shen, and Shen snatched the offering out of the air. Eyeing the bottle, he remembered seeing files on this water of spirituality, back in Yale's soul orb. For most people, it was useless garbage. Only a handful of legends, in history, ever managed to make a soul with it. But Baron thought Shen was an interdimensional deity. Since humans couldn't use the water, maybe a god could. Smart play, Shen admitted. As he floated closer to the kneeling Baron, he noticed the guy's hair looked different. It was almost a shame. Shen was just a con artist, not a god. Rubbing his chin, he flashed back to their last meeting. Ina and Baron witnessed completely different dreamscapes, seeing things that didn't align with his own vision. History was repeating itself. Paranoia crept in, was constantly swapping identities, a rookie mistake. He shoved the doubt aside. Better safe than sorry. He let out a heavy sigh, realizing he'd already used the Wandering at Ease card last time. If he didn't drop some fresh wisdom right now, this entire charade would crumble. Time for the big guns, the equality of things. He looked Baron dead in the eye and spun the web. Nothing is not that. And nothing is not this. To the blind, it's invisible, but once you truly see, you know. Boom. Baron was floored. He couldn't believe he was hearing the legendary uniformity of everything, the holy grail of forbidden alchemy. This wasn't just philosophy. It was a cheat code for reality. Anyone who mastered this possessed the god-tier ability to deconstruct and rebuild existence itself. Baron instantly dropped to his knees, pledging eternal loyalty to the mighty haze of the White Shore. To him, this blessing was pure luck, and every command was destiny. The entity had just shown him how insignificant he truly was in the grand scheme. Then came the reveal. Baron had joined the Lightless Dust, and they were waiting for Shen to pass their trial. The mission, kill the Light Chaser, and the rewards would be massive. Shen's internal alarm bells rang. Was this the same Light Chaser the Oracle girl warned him about? She said a Light Chaser would hit Veranda and risk it all to delete the god imposter. A chilling thought hit Shen. Was he the imposter she was talking about? Playing it cool, he ordered Baron to head to the location where their paths first crossed, and to hunt down his messenger. With that mic drop, Shen and the white mist vanished into thin air. Baron whispered the destination to himself, the Baden Empire Academy, the exact spot the messenger of the haze first showed up. He glanced at his unconscious assistant on the ground, muttering a promise of payback. But right now the mission took priority. Meanwhile, Shen materialized back in reality on the sandy riverbank, wondering aloud if he was the glitch in the system, not the coffee shop. He scanned his surroundings, still at the river, but the summoning quake had shifted the coordinates. He stared at the lightning bottle in his hand, realizing he'd snagged another offering, but the real loot was the intel on the Light Chaser. Then, reality hit him like a truck. Wait a second. Cold sweat started beating on his forehead. As he pressed his lips together, he was in the middle of nowhere, miles away from the academy. Dead of night, 0 Uber drivers in sight. A wild idea popped up. Should he go mist mode and fly back? He quickly scrapped that his mana bar was too low for that kind of stunt. Then he remembered the bicycle he'd seen parked in an alley earlier. He started trekking back, and sure enough, there it was. Sorry, buddy, he thought, promising the universe he'd return it later. He jammed the lightning bottle into the keyhole, morphing it until it clicked, MacGyver style. While Shen was struggling, Baron used high-tier lightning magic to teleport straight to his living room. Yifu spotted him instantly, sprinting away from the maids and yelling, "Father!" She was a wreck, terrified because he was home so late. She buried her face in his chest, and Baron, softening, instantly patted her head and took the blame. Then her mood flipped. She pointed eagerly at the table, announcing she'd leveled up her cooking skills. The menu: smoked salmon butter chicken, baked escargot, and borscht. Baron froze. Sweat trickled down his face. As he stared at the chaotic spread in silence, Yifu's face fell. Do you hate it? Baron forced a laugh, swearing there was zero chance he wouldn't love it, pretending to be hyped for the taste test. Cut to Shen pedaling for his life down the highway, screaming at his legs to move faster. His veins were popping, eyes glazing over, lungs burning from the cardio, from hell. Contrast that with Baron laughing at the dinner table with his daughter, while Shen was out there fighting gravity and exhaustion. Later, Yifu, bundled up like a burrito in bed, asked the big question. When could she finally hang out in Veranda City? Baron sat by her side, back turned, eyes shut, promising her soon. But when his eyes snapped open, the warmth was gone. He silently vowed she would eventually return to a world that wasn't broken. He turned back, apologizing that duty called, and he had to bounce again. She gave him a brave smile, telling him it was cool. She needed to sleep anyway. Stay safe. Baron stood up, walked out, and silently cursed the cruel world he lived in, hoping his daughter would inherit a destiny far brighter than the shadows he walked in. Meanwhile, deep inside the dark library, Baron prowled through the silence completely alone. Suddenly, Chen, rocking Yale's face as a disguise, slipped in and called out to Baron from the shadows. Baron spun around, voice trembling as he asked if his timing was perfect. Chen confessed he'd sprinted there, terrified Baron would bail if he was even a second late. Internal alarms blared in Baron's mind. Did the divine messenger radar lock his location and manifest instantly? Could this entity track his every breath and teleport anywhere at will, knuckles turning white? Baron realized with a shiver just what kind of terrifying monster he was dealing with. Chen cut to the chase, demanding every scrap of intel. Regarding the Light Chaser, Baron nodded, spilling the tea. According to his sources, the Light Chaser was a top-tier worshipper of the Corona Church, with abilities ranked as absolute disasters. Plus, the guy wielded a relic of equal power, a weapon the church didn't just call mysterious, they revered it as a holy item. As one of only 10 existing holy worshippers, the Light Chaser had legendary clout. Recently, this powerhouse had surfaced in Baranda for unknown reasons. Chen narrowed his eyes, asking if the Light Chaser was hunting the god imposter, and if he'd go scorched earth to take them out. Baron blinked, totally thrown off, admitting this was the first time he'd heard of a god imposter, but agreed they couldn't sleep on the threat posed by the Light Chaser's target. Chen dropped the command locate and profile the Light Chaser, shadow him without flatlining him, and log every detail in a book just like before. Baron bowed low, accepting the Divine Messenger's orders. Eyes squeezed shut, sweat dripping down his neck. Baron remembered how the last intel drop ended up with George and led straight to Yale Verd getting deleted. Throughout that whole mess, the Divine Messenger never even stepped into the light, yet he had single-handedly dismantled a 1,000-year-old cult and forced a rogue investigator to bend the knee. Chen turned on his heel, tossing back a casual comment that he was hyped to see the results. As he walked away, Chen panicked internally. He had to hustle to return the rental bike. Back at the coffee shop, Chen stood behind the counter, legs wobbling like jelly, wondering if any other Divine Messenger in history had to suffer the indignity of pedaling a bicycle. His quads were screaming. He slammed his hand on the counter, calling the whole situation absolutely cringe. Overwhelmed, he sent a silent thank you to the universe. That nobody recognized him, thinking he would have actually died of embarrassment if Anna had caught him looking that pathetic. He let out a heavy sigh, remembering Yale's soulball records, warned of other untouchable class enemies, reminding him to move with caution. Suddenly, the soulball smacked right into Chen's forehead and ricocheted back to the cat, who snatched it midair. The cat landed with a soft thud on the table, batting the soulball around like a toy. Watching her play, Chen deadpanned that she had way too much energy, post-vaccination. Then with zero emotion, he muttered that he needed to drag her back to the vet soon to get fixed. The cat froze, whipping around to shoot him a death glare. That night was September 5th, Exorcism Day, a major holy event for the Corona Church. The streets were dead, silent as people hid indoors, terrified of running into demons. Families huddled over dinner, praying to the fire of origin and hyping up the Sunday. Meanwhile, a girl with distinct horns on her head was sprinting through a dark, rain-soaked alley. Chen, scrolling on his phone, mechanically recited the sacred line about the fire of origin illuminating hearts, purging the world's evil and turning everything to ash. Eyes closed, he dryly noted that, while he wasn't sure if monsters were real, he was 100% sure his business was dead. 0 customers all day. Suddenly, a noise from the street shattered, the silence followed by the sound of a body hitting the pavement. He stepped out to investigate and froze. A horned girl was lying unconscious in the pouring rain, right on his doorstep. He called out, asking if someone was actually there and if she was okay. The girl looked up, hitting him with an innocent, heartbreaking gaze. Chen asked if she was hurt. She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to answer. But Chen leaned down gently, offering a warm look and inviting her inside to crash for a bit. The girl recoiled, refusing help, but Chen raised a hand to chill her out, promising he wasn't a villain. He jokingly wondered if he gave off creepy vibes. Suddenly, the girl screamed that she couldn't drag him into this, confessing she was a monster. Chen paused, surprised, and leaned in for a closer look, realizing the horns on her head weren't just cosplay props. They were legit. He had assumed it was just festival gear, but now he gently placed a hand on her head, reassuring her that everything was going to be fine. Hoping to impress her, he ignited a blazing fireball in his palm, flashing it like a trophy. He thought he looked absolutely god-tier. But the girl, she just hit him with the hardest eye roll imaginable, total disbelief on her face. Shen started sweating bullets awkwardly, asking if she was good. The girl, snapping out of her daze, asked if he was for real about saving her. Shen scanned her aura, realizing she was a low-tier player in the supernatural underworld, someone who knew the game existed, but had 0 power. Jackpot. She was exactly the kind of recruit he needed to hire. He grinned, wondering if that luck ring was finally paying dividends. Not wasting a second, he grabbed her hand time to secure this asset. He ushered her into the coffee shop, parked her in a chair, and told her to stay put. Snagging a towel, he gently dried her damp hair before zooming off like a speedster to grab supplies. The girl just sat there, beaming from the VIP treatment. Shen flashed back in an instant with a steaming cup of java, sliding it over and telling her to drink up and get warm. She thanked him, genuine relief washing over her. Shen took the seat across from her. "All right, spill it. What's haunting you?" He added that, whatever it was, it probably wasn't as apocalyptic as she thought. She pursed her lips, hesitating before dropping the truth. I'm Tina, she started, explaining she was a freshman at Baden Empire Academy. Last week, her body started glitching out. She checked the mirror at home and saw animal ears sprouting from her head. Shen blinked. Was she a cat girl? He squinted harder. No, those looked human. Something was definitely off with her anatomy. His intense gaze made her crumble. She blushed, calling him out on the awkward staring. Shen turned beet red. My bad, she whispered, asking if he actually believed her. 100%, Shen shot back, telling her to keep going. She explained her life was totally vanilla, boring, even until recently, when she stumbled into occult studies and borrowed some grimoires from classmates. Shen smirked internally. Recognizing the classic rookie path to self-destruction, she hung her head, admitting she and her friends tried a bunch of rituals, but they were all duds, so she lost interest. But then, just last week, a post-shower nightmare became reality. She looked in the mirror and found fuzzy animal ears replacing her own. Shen shrugged it off. That's it. Give me the full diagnostic. Any other symptoms? Tina shuddered, admitting she heard creepy, unintelligible whispers, and her body kept morphing. Shen pressed. Changes like, what? Horns, more fur. She nodded grimly, confirming his suspicions, adding that sometimes she sprouted antlers, a tail, or even fish scales. She felt like she was slowly mutating into a straight-up monster. Terrified, she kept her mouth shut, didn't even tell her parents. She drowned herself in baggy clothes to hide the transformation and ghosted the academy on medical leave. Her face twisted in pain. Mr. White told me to hold on, said not to let the inner demons win, but the voices were relentless, and she was at her breaking point. Shen cut in. Did this Mr. White ever use the word miracle? Tina paused for a second. Yeah, he said he creates them. Shen rubbed his chin. Bingo. It had to be the White of Miracle, the same psycho who led the hidden Iris members to become monsters. And now he was hunting fresh prey. Mr. White is the problem here, Tina Shen stated flatly. Her eyes went wide. Really, I know his rap sheet, Shen replied. He's bad news. Tell me where he is. I'm reporting him right now. Tina looked away hesitant. I've only met him in my dreams. Shen froze. Literal dreams. She confirmed it. Every night for the past 2 weeks. Shen touched his chin again, mind racing. The hidden Iris used dream potions to hack into minds just like the one Christine gave him. This white guy was definitely the mastermind manipulating the dreamscape. Shen couldn't brew the counter potion, yet he was missing key ingredients. A cold dread hit him. Would Tina fully transform into those grotesque fish-headed monsters? The image horrified him. If she was a stranger, maybe he could look away. But this girl had begged for his help. He couldn't let her become one of those things. The mere thought of it made his blood boil. Wham! He slammed his fist onto the table, shot to his feet, and barked at her to back off. He swore he'd hunt down Mr. White in the dreamscape on the flip side. Cut to the orphanage. Anna was lurking outside a classroom door. Inside, the teacher tossed a question to the room, scanning for anyone with a brain cell active. One kid piped up, claiming he knew it. The teacher made him stand and deliver. Anna, peeking through the crack in the door, just watched in silence. She realized the irony. Even though her body was frozen in time, her mind was leveling up at warp speed. Her processing power was off the charts. She was starting to see the supernatural bleed into reality. Vivid enough to touch. A glitch in the matrix that ordinary humans were totally blind to. She'd already tamed. The eternal flame of destruction, leaving kids her age in the dust. Her learning curve was basically vertical. But this gift came with a curse. She was hypersensitive to everyone else's misery. In just a few months, under the High Priest's tutelage, she'd speed-run the basics of astral projection, specifically tuning into tragic frequencies. As for the things she conjured out of thin air, it didn't feel like casting spells anymore. It was like molding clay she could actually see. She squeezed her eyes shut. No resets, no do-overs. This was the absolute limit of what she could do. For her crew at the orphanage, suddenly a priest rolled up. The big boss is waiting for you. She spun around, took a step, and muttered, let's bounce. However, as they navigated the hallway, the guide pointed toward a specific room. He's in there. They pushed into the room. Pitch black. 2 lackeys flanked the high priest while the headmistress was bowing so low she was practically kissing the floor. Anna greeted the high priest, then shot a worried glance at the woman. Can she go now? The headmistress looked up, trembling. Yes, holy shrine maiden. The high priest glanced back over his shoulder, a creepy smile spreading across his face. I saw this coming before I even got here. Your request, granted. From here on out, the kids study what they want. No forced cult membership. They can hustle like normal people. Get jobs, and we'll foot the bill without asking for anything sketchy in return that might hurt them. Anna's worst nightmares were officially canceled. The headmistress didn't waste a second. She slipped out and sealed the door. Anna tried to express her thanks, but the high priest cut her off. Don't thank me. You want to be grateful. Thank our mighty God. Anna stayed quiet. Then he dropped the next bomb he needed her as his +1. Next Monday, there was someone she needed to meet. He broke it down. The senator is climbing the political ladder, which is huge for the cult. This is our biggest play in the surface world in years. Since the guy is turning 70, it's the perfect cover to gather his squad for a private mixer. Anna's mind flashed back to that hooked-nosed geezer who showed up during the cult's attack. Do I seriously have to go? Isn't that risky? She was worried the anti-magic bureau would be sniffing around, tracking their signatures. The priest waved it off. Relax. It's just a surface world party, totally standard. You might even meet a kid your age. He insisted she needed to broaden her horizons, learn how the normies think, not just the inner circle stuff. He toyed with a small potion vial, been wondering how to drop this on the market. Then with a face that screamed villain, he held it up. This little thing lets ordinary folks feel the blessing. Immortality. Eternal youth. He threw his arms wide, laughing maniacally. You know how thirsty they are for that? Cold sweat dripped down Anna's neck. Did you forget what I told you? The high priest smoothed it over. Of course not. I had my guys look into the hidden iris, but they chilled out. Followed God's will. No moves made. Then deadpan, he added. Though I didn't expect the Foundation to have their fingerprints on this. Anna paused. The Foundation. The global juggernaut, known as the Market Foundation. Compared to their chaos cult, those guys were absolute giants. Rumor was they secretly took cash from every government while staying totally independent. A supernatural superpower. I need to flag this to the Divine Messenger, she stated. I knew you would, the High Priest nodded. Right call. As Anna turned to leave, the High Priest watched her go. She can find the Divine Messenger. Because of the mark. That's God's GPS right there. He knew if he tried to slide into the messenger's DMs. Without an invite, it would be straight up disrespectful. After she left the High Priest, we open with some shady backstage politics. Someone just ordered the immediate cancellation of every appointment for Lord Felix. Yeah, the royal big shot with the medical empire. The excuse, he's indisposed. The priest taking the order is visibly shaking, eyes squeezed shut and sweat dripping down his face as he agrees. Meanwhile, back at Shen's place, Tina is dead asleep. She snaps awake, scanning the room in total panic. The demonic horns on her head, gone, vanished. She sits up, patting herself down to confirm nobody touched her while she was out cold. But then whoosh, massive wings burst from her back. Her face turns bright red, but here's the kicker. She actually feels disappointed. Her brain spirals as she wonders why that specific emotion is hitting her. She mentally slaps herself, asking girl, why are you having such thirsty thoughts about the handsome sorcerer? Flashback time. She remembers bowing to Shen, thanking him for saving her life when she was totally helpless. Back then, Shen was gripping the rust cross, that creepy artifact glowing with a sinister black thread attached to it. He was analyzing Tina, calculating that if her mutation was just a curse, the eternal rust cross would neutralize it. His plan was simple when the mutation spiked. He'd slap the cross on her until it subsided. Tina, unable to hold eye contact, blushed hard and looked away. Stammering, you're staring at me again. Caught off guard, Shen just cracked a reassuring smile. Get in bed. Rest, he commanded gently. I'm right here. If anything goes sideways, I'll handle it. Tina looked at him wide-eyed, asking if he was for real. Shen smirked internally, thinking this girl was kind of a weirdo nerd. But suddenly the vibe shifted. Her horns started shrinking, vanishing into her skull. She groaned, feeling absolutely awful. Shen didn't hesitate, he yelled, put the cross on, now. Tina was drenched in cold sweat as Shen secured the cross around her neck like a heavy pendant. Silence. Nothing happened. Shen started to doubt the artifact. Until bam. The wings exploded out again, and she gritted her teeth in pure agony, feathers drifting to the floor as she struggled. Shen's mind raced. This wasn't a curse. Judging by the symptoms, she wasn't turning into some trash-tier fish monster. Her condition was way more unique, way more rare. Seeing her standing there in shock, Shen dropped the truth bomb. You're safe. You don't have to worry about going full monster mode. Tina looked at him with hope. Really, Shen flashed that winning smile again. Yes. Now go sleep. Fast forward to morning. Tina creeps out of the room to find Shen already awake, meditating in the shop, deep in the mental weeds. He was frustrated that Yale's soulball couldn't dig up any dirt on Tina's mutation, and he was betting everything that the White of Miracle was pulling the strings. Tina interrupted his brooding terrifyingly, admitting she couldn't go home yet. My parents. They'll find out. Turns out her folks are hardcore fanatics of the Corona Church, and they'd hand their own daughter over to the Inquisitors in a heartbeat. She didn't trust the church at all. Gesturing to the wings, she begged, can you make these invisible to normies? Shen ran the options. The shadow mask, too risky. He couldn't let her keep using that. Yale's soul ball had an astral projection spell for disguises. But no way. Tina's soul was as dull as a literal rock. She'd never master that level of magic. Shen sighed, eyes closed. I'll lend you cash. Go stay at a hotel nearby for a bit. Tina freaked out. A hotel, her voice cracking. Shen ignored the drama, promising to get her some baggy clothes to hide the wings before walking her over. Later, Shen leaned against his shop counter. dissecting the enemy Tina had described. A man in long white robes, blonde hair, a smile that rivals the sun, a charming gentleman that makes everyone feel safe. Basically a literal angel on earth. Shen realized, this guy is going to be a nightmare to fight. Then, reality hit him. He needed to find a permanent spot because he couldn't bankroll Tina's hotel stays forever. He slumped over fists, hitting the counter. Even in a magical world, I can't escape the housing crisis, he groaned. Suddenly, wham! The shop door flew open. It was Christine storming in with zero chill. Shouting, I got it. She marched right up to Shen. I found a lead. Shen didn't miss a beat. Nice work. Coffee or cold brew? He pointed a finger at her. You're paying, by the way. Christine rolled her eyes. Obviously, I'm paying. Nobody drinks for free here. Shen kept his poker face. Right. Just like that umbrella someone borrowed and never returned. Christine scoffed. Wow, those people sound awful. Shen slid a fresh cup onto the table. Here's your order. Christine took a sip and practically swooned. Praise the origin fire. This is divine. Shen sighed at her theatrics. Okay, drama queen. Forget the coffee review. Spill the intel. Christine instantly straightened up, ready to talk business. She dropped the bombshell immediately. The old candy vendor's death wasn't random. It was a hit linked directly to the Buate family. Specifically, a lethal astral spell. Chen just sat there, face like a stone wall, giving absolutely nothing away. Taking his silence for confirmation, she trembled. Master, did you already know all of this? She figured this whole investigation was just a pop quiz to test her skills. And based on his reaction, she barely passed. She needed to step up her game. The caster isn't just a grunt, she added, voice serious. They're linked straight to the Buate patriarch. Word on the street is Count Buate has been on death's door, locked away in a hospital for ages. But that's a lie. He was recently spotted hitting the links with his buddies, looking fresh as a daisy. Definitely the work of that astral spell. Chen processed the intel. The Buates, an ancient bloodline that supposedly ghosted the political scene years ago, pivoting to corporate power instead. Internally, Chen was shook. She dug all this up in just 10 hours. Source, he demanded coolly. She didn't flinch. I've got eyes everywhere. An Ender contact caught the whole thing live. Right near the slums. Chen closed his eyes, piecing it together. She looked like a modest servant on the surface. But underneath, she was basically a crime lord in the making. Good work, he said, keeping it brief. You've earned a reward. Her cheeks flushed pink. A reward. For humble me, Chen cut through the act immediately. Cut the polite act. Your face is practically glowing. He knew he couldn't keep bluffing his way through this whole omniscient mastermind gig forever. He needed to drop some real power to keep the upper hand. Relying on his minions' flashbacks wasn't a sustainable strategy. He gripped the silver orb, Yale's soul ball. The summoning ritual inside was safe, flashy, and the perfect carrot to dangle. Well, perfectly safe as long as she didn't botch the execution. He shot her a sharp look. Listen closely. Once you summon it, master it. But do not try to chat with it. No communication. Understood. Her eyes sparkled with intensity. Loud and clear, boss. Chen waved his hand, weaving haze magic into a glowing holographic interface. She reached out, fingers trembling as she touched the screen. The text scrolled, Girl of Tranquility. A striker's dependent straight from the depths of the underworld. The stats were broken. This thing could insta-kill a twisted rank entity, like it was swatting a fly. Even a disastrous rank monster would be fighting for its life against this summon, without some serious cheat codes. She gasped. She'd been running with Enders her whole life and only ever scraped up a disorder rank relic. This was god-tier magic she'd never even dreamed of. She scrambled to her feet and bowed deep. Thank you, I don't deserve this for such a small job. Chen waved her off. Don't sell yourself short. You earned it. Stick with me and there's plenty more where that came from. He slid a folded note across the counter. I need 2 specific ingredients for a dream sight potion. She snatched the paper up. Consider it done. As soon as possible. Internally, she did the math. This shopping list was going to cost over 10,000 yuan easily. A small price to pay for that summon. But then a thought hit her. The hidden iris. They're mostly civilians. How could they afford to spam a high-tier drug like Dreamsight? He's testing me again, she realized. He left that out to see if I'd catch the glitch. I'll track down the supplier, she declared. If I find who's pushing the ingredients, I'll find the puppet master pulling the strings. Impress me, Chen said. Inside, he was facepalming. Why didn't I think of tracking the supplier? Get to it. Cut to a rain-slicked alleyway. Su Ling marched through the downpour, mood dark. She couldn't wrap her head around it. The light chaser was a big shot in the Corona church. If that guy didn't hold the secret to bringing George back from the dead, she would have never snitched on him. The Anti-Magic Bureau might not be able to take him down, but they'd squash her and George like bugs without hesitation. She'd play his game. For now. As long as he didn't cross the line. Meanwhile, back at the cafe, Cola, the cat, was wiggling around on the floor like a worm. Click. The door opened and Su Ling shook off the rain. She locked eyes with Cola. The glare was instant. The cat glared back with equal hate. Nemesis mode on. Chen leaned against the counter, flashing a relaxed smile. Long time no see. And look at that, you actually bought new clothes. He immediately pivoted, shooting a death glare at the cat. Don't you even think about hissing at the customer again. Cola froze. The cat started literally sweating, trembling like a leaf before letting out a pathetic, terrified meow. Su Ling brushed it off. I'm not scared of the cold, she quipped, but remember, I'm still just a regular college girl trying to survive the surface world. Freezing out there. Weird not to switch up the drip. Chen teased, checking if she was still down to devour the entire dessert menu. She shut him down instantly. Just black tea. The bureau's budget wasn't built for her sweet tooth binges. Chen slid the steaming cup of black tea across the wood, landing it perfectly in front of her. I've got the answer you wanted, he said, taking a seat. Internally, he was popping champagne. If Christine hadn't clutched up earlier with that info, he would have been sitting there looking like a total clown with zero intel. Su Ling stared him down. He gathered that intel way too fast. To her, he was a glitch in the system. An unreachable, uncontrollable anomaly just cosplaying as a coffee shop owner. Sure, he had the handsome human visuals, but the guy reeked of dimensional deities. He was basically the divine messenger of the Lord of Ashes. Current status, human-friendly. But he wasn't a brawler. No, this guy was a puppet master playing 4D chess with reality. He got a kick out of manipulating people. The Oracle reports even had a massive do not engage warning. Do not look at his timeline. Past, present, future, complete static. Any Oracle who tried to peek at his destiny ended up with a melted brain. And the sighting records glitches. His true form was a cosmic horror, massive and lethal. Experiments were off the table. The strategy was simple, play nice, and let him scratch that itch to manipulate humanity. Su Ling sipped her tea eyes shut, blocking out the world. She'd memorized the dossier. Conclusion: this man is absolutely not human. Lately, her dreams were haunted by dead silence and white voids. Probably a side effect of the mark he slapped on her. Chen cut the silence. So, did those books trigger an astral spell at the murder scene? The old man's death? Yes. Su Ling nodded, grateful. Okay, trade offer. I'll tell you everything about the light chaser. But on the god imposter, she had nothing. Chen smirked. The god imposter is exactly who the light chaser is hunting. Su Ling froze. Not even the bureau top brass knew the target's identity. How did a barista have higher clearance than her? She pushed past the shock to deliver the profile. Frederick Augustine, top 10 holy worshipper, Corona Church royalty with an ancient bloodline. He's been solo leveling the hidden iris mutation case. Didn't even call the bureau for backup. Chen's inner monologue screamed, bingo. Su Ling sighed, eyes still closed. 2 days on the beat, and he's got 0 leads. He's clueless. Too much justice warrior energy, not enough detective skills. Chen rubbed his chin. If she thought he was righteous, that just meant easy to scam. Also, Su Ling added the Foundation just touched down in Baranda. Don't know their endgame, but they're tight with the light chaser. Chen processed the data. The Foundation. That charity squad famous for cleaning up mutations and protecting ruins. He flashed his customer service smile. Got it. Enjoy the brew. He headed back to the counter, mind racing as the puzzle pieces finally clicked. Su Ling's intel was the missing link. The White of Miracle. That has to be the god imposter. Or at least the main villain here. Why else would the light chaser be sniffing around the hidden iris mutation was White's opening gambit. Tina was moved too, even if the trap hadn't sprung yet. Chen's eyes flashed with an eldritch glow. He smirked, thinking of White the prophecy's god imposter, who claimed to manufacture miracles. What was his play in Baranda? Chen was dying to find out. Cut to 3 a.m. Dead of night. Chen stood by the lightning-lit window, decked out in a black trench coat. Cola was snoozing on the table behind him. I'm heading out, he told the cat. Trash the furniture and you're grounded when I get back. He caught his reflection in the glass. He didn't look like the terrified guy who first isekai'd into this world. He'd learned the rules of the inner circle, the fear of the unknown. Gone. He had the confidence and the guts to step up and fix this messed up world. Flashback to 3 days ago, Christine handing him 2 small vials. Here are the potions you ordered. Shen hyped her up, dropping the mission details, lock eyes on the nearby Blue Hotel, and babysit a girl named Tina. Su Ling shut her eyes, channeling full ride-or-die energy, swearing she'd crush the assignment because Tina was apparently a big deal. Then she flipped the switch. Forget tomorrow, she's bouncing now. Shen just smirked, loving the hustle. She didn't even question the logic. She's just the ultimate minion wired for pure obedience. Shen whipped out his smartphone, scrolling through status updates. Looks like George ghosted them for the evil lands. That left Su Ling as his only reliable contact. Tina was a flight risk, so he had to patch this glitch fast. Cut to the present, the duo is strutting down a hotel hallway when Su Ling breaks the silence. Are we seriously doing the ritual here, she asked. Shen told her to just vibe and follow his lead, making her pout at his show-off attitude. Shen shot her a side-eye. Say what? She flashed. A nervous grin hit him with a nothing and pointed straight ahead. She started spiraling. Which room? Do we have a key? Should we knock? While she panicked, Shen dissolved into his shadow haze form. He literally glitched through the solid wood door. Su Ling's jaw dropped. She was shook. Click. The door swung open from the inside. Get in here. Su Ling glared at him, annoyed by the flex. Inside, Tina was face planted on the bed, drenched in a cold sweat. Shen stepped up, signaling it was time to prep the ritual. Su Ling gasped. Is she a fawn? Those things are basically mythical ultra-rares only found in legends or the Badlands. She wasn't born this way, Shen corrected. This was a mod installed by the god imposter, a twisted masterpiece from those fake deities. He sat on the floor, locking eyes with the sleeping girl. The goal, a factory reset to bring her original form back. Shen paused. Was he hearing voices again? Behind him, Su Ling was sweating buckets, realizing Tina might be the Light Chaser's next target. If the Light Chaser wants her deleted, this is about to become another clash of the titans. First it was Hush Strike, now the god imposter. It's giving major quiet word catastrophe vibes all over again. Another fake god drama. Shen flicked his finger, igniting a mystic flame. He figured the scent of an other-dimensional deity could mute the voices screaming in Tina's head. He spun around to check on his assistant. Su Ling was fuming, convinced he'd ghosted her presence again. Ignoring the attitude, he pulled out the potion vials. Chop, chop, he urged. We've got a 2-hour window. Su Ling snatched the bottles, ready to work. She agreed better to start than let him keep being his eccentric self. Shen leaned in close, whispering a secret command. Su Ling's eyes went wide, but she nodded. Got it. Suddenly a creepy mist started creeping against the glass window. Shen clocked the threat immediately. Outside, the fog was swallowing everything. A nightmare creature with Slenderman limbs and dual sickles was stalking the hotel. No face, just horror. Just a single massive eyeball where a face should be. It phased right through the locked front entrance like a glitch. The receptionist was out cold on the desk, unaware of the death mist rolling past her as the beast breached the lobby. It drifted down the hallway and slipped into the room. On the bed, Su Ling and Tina appeared to be fast asleep. Shen was the only one awake guarding Tina. The monster locked its giant eye on him and let out a guttural growl. It swung a massive sickle, aiming for the kill. Shen flared his blue mana aura, stood up and drew his cane like a sword. With one smooth motion, he parried and sliced clean through the monster's weapon. Called it, he muttered. The White of Miracle had planted a trap inside Tina, a nasty contingency plan. Classic villain move. Nobody operates without insurance. That's why he'd whispered to Su Ling earlier, something is watching us from the shadows. He had sent her into the dream world first so he could handle the trash in reality. But this was her first solo dream dive. He needed to wrap this up as soon as possible to back her up. It was ironic, White dressed like a gentleman, but used such filthy, disgusting tactics. The monster roared, swinging its jagged, broken blade at Shen again. Clang Shen's cane caught the blow, shattering the sickle into dust. The monster actually looked confused. Your gear is trash, Shen taunted. He powered up his cane with blue energy and slashed across the beast's torso. The leg came off, then snapped right back on like a magnet. Shen's eyes flared. Freeze, he commanded. Frost lightning blasted through the creature, but it tanked the hit. The limb reattached instantly. 0 damage. Are you kidding me right now? Shen groaned. He'd already had Su Ling cast a soundproof astral barrier, so he didn't have to worry about a noise complaint. He summoned a massive lightning magic hammer. Let's see how many extra lives you got, he smirked. Moments later, the monster was a pile of broken pixels on the floor. Shen slumped against the wall, totally drained of stamina. Finally, he wheezed. The revival loop is broken. It's over. That's when something shiny caught his eye. A cluster of white crystals littered the floor loot dropped from the monster's shattered corpse. He snatched them up, eyeing the strange glow. Is this a clue? Before he could process it, a blood-curdling scream tore through the air. Tina, she was levitating, literally floating off the ground in agony. Tina Shen whipped around, panic rising. Then he saw her Su Ling crumpled on the floor nearby, with blood trickling from her lips. Even Su Ling took damage. Shen's mind raced. Is this the final trap springing the miracle of White's parting gift? No time to analyze. He had to dive, right now, into the dream world. Anna and Baron had experienced totally twisted versions of reality last time. Shen wondered, is Tina's dreamscape gonna be just as broken? He bowed his head and let the darkness take him. Blink. Eyes open. Welcome to the dreamscape. But this place was a ghost town. Ominous storm clouds swirled above, casting a single spotlight onto the glass-like crystal floor beneath Shen's boots. A gut feeling pulled him forward. Su Ling's ahead, he realized. I can feel her presence. Meanwhile, in the void, Su Ling was drifting upside down, lost in the deep unconscious. Snap. Her eyes flew open. She shot up in bed, looked down at herself, and scowled. Seriously, clothes still on. She scanned the room, annoyed. Where the hell did those two go? She paused, shaking off the grogginess. Grabbing her coat, she analyzed the vibe. This texture. I'm in the first layer. Dream Mechanics 101. This realm is built on a 3-tier structure. Layer 1, reality, pure data and knowledge. Layer 2, imagination where logic bends. and the deep end, primal, nothing but raw, unfiltered desire. Usually sleepers just glitch between these three zones at random. But the rumors were clear. If you dare to dive deeper than the